He's cool.
He's relaxed. He's cool.
He's bad.
Oh, you are a bad dude.
You don't want to mess with him. That's a stone cold killer.
He's one slick fanatic.
Hey, boss man.
He's slick.
Here comes Trideen.
In other words, there goes the neighborhood.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hi. How you doing?
Good evening. What's happening, you beautiful weirdos? Happy Thursday night. Ladies and gents, let's do this thingy.
Ladies and gentlemen, get hyped. The Fanatic Zone is now live. Let's get this party started. Enter the lead, weirdo.
You know who.
Man Food.
And away we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, weirdos of all ages, leave the board at the door and bring the hype once more. Glad to be back with you all on a Thursday night. Happy Thursday, fam. Hope you're all doing wonderful. Yarzori, good evening. OSU Cowboys, Tridine, DJ Wolf, dude. Screez, what's up, buddy? Skyrim, Showtime, good evening, my friend. And all of our beautiful lurkers, thank you one and all for being here. Yes, we got the giveaway system fixed. I think it's ready to go. We're gonna start it up here in just a minute. I will explain how it's going to work. Real simple. Real simple. But first, we've got a few VIPs in the chat. Our winners for the last month's Weirdo leaderboard. Voltan, in no particular order because I don't remember who it was, 1, 2, and 3. Actually, I can pull it up and see. Tridine was number 1, DJ number 2, Voltan number 3. Congratulations, guys. If you want to do your special command and show them off to the world, it's the first 4, it's exclamation point and the first 4 letters of your Twitch username. The first 4 letters of your Twitch username. So, feel free to do that to show off to the world. And it's on a 2-hour cooldown, so you could do it a couple times a night. Yep, 2-hour cooldown for those. Yep. So, yeah. So you guys will get to see the... I'm still number 1 only because of serendipity. Oh, man. Yeah. So, that's okay. It's the first 4 letters of your Twitch username. Exclamation point and the first 4 letters of your Twitch username. I do that so it'll be standard for everybody.
Wile E. Coyote. Super genius. I like the way that rolls out.
There you go. There you go. There's our first one. Nice, nice. So that worked well. Uh-huh. Hey, Electrigasms. What's up, buddy? How are you, man? Good evening. All right, we're eating supper late, guys. That's okay, DJ. It's exclamation point and the first 4 letters of your Twitch username. No, we didn't, but I did get the There it is. There it is. Now, well, DJ, what did you think? Did it line up okay? Does that look like it lined up okay? Almost. It's pretty close, right? It's pretty close. If you want to change, just the first 4, Voltan, just the first 4. Yeah, VULT. Try that and you'll have it. Pretty close. If you want to change one or the other, I'll be glad to change it if you're not too happy with it, you know? No, it's okay, Voltan. It's I was trying to make.
Oh well, who wants to live forever?
Mm-hmm. There you go. Our first. Now, can you guys do me a favor and try to run your commands again? It should give you a cooldown message. What's up, Cockleton? How you doing? Good evening. There you go. So now you know when you can run it again. Yep. Awesome. So, a certain bloodsucker named the Count. I know, right? So, yes, we've got the giveaway command fixed. It's working. I'm going to open it up here in just a minute for giveaway. Yeah, no problem, DJ. You have a good night. Enjoy your movies, man. Let me do this. Let me give out. So there's no raids, no spinning, no earning weirdos right now. There's none of that. Everything's shut down right now until Saturday when we start the economy over. New season, Foo season number 2 starts Saturday as far as the currency. But I will do this. I'm going to give weirdos out for retweets and likes because you guys we're going to have the giveaway tonight. So we're going to make an exception for that. I see we've got some likes. Voltan and Tridine, thank you. No fishing. Voltan, thank you for the like. Tridine, thank you for the like. Now the retweets. Let's see. We got Cockleton. Thank you for the retweet. In no particular order, guys. Just going down the list here of what I see. Cockleton, OSU Cowboys. Thank you, buddy. And then I'm going to open up the giveaway here in just a minute. And knock on wood, it doesn't start freezing up like it did last night. DJ, thank you for the... Okay, and then Skyrim. Thank you. Oh, awesome. Thank you, OSU. I appreciate it, man. Let me do that again then. Awesome. Thank you for the like. Let me take care of that. OSU. There you go. Yeah, wood has been knocked. Okay, this is the way it's going to work. I think it works out really well, okay? You can check your weirdos. This is the way it's going to work. It's a 100-to-1 stat squish, okay? So if you take your weirdos and divide it by 100, that tells you how many entries you can do. If it's too late in the day and you don't feel like counting, never fear. The bot will tell you. If you do, this is the way it's going to work, okay? There are 2 ways to do it. You're going to, and it's not active yet, so don't do it yet. But when I activate it, the command is going to be enter, space, and the number of tickets, okay? It won't let you go over the max, so just divide your weirdos by 100 and round down and you're good, okay? However, some people will sometimes come in and just do enter, right? !enter. If you do !enter, it'll enter 1 ticket in the giveaway, but then it will also tell you how many max tickets you have left to enter, and then you can do that. So theoretically, you could do enter, and that's 3 tickets, right? It will accumulatively add. So it's real simple. It's knock on wood. It's bulletproof. But yeah, if somebody comes in and just does enter, not knowing, and then it'll say, Tridine, you have 500 tickets left. So then you'd be like, oh, okay, now I can add 500 more, or whatever the number is, right? That's just an arbitrary number. But that's that way. If somebody doesn't realize, or somebody forgets to put the number at the end, it tells you, right? So I'm gonna enable it. Knock on wood. Hopefully the bot doesn't. Okay, there we go. Let me see. All right. You can start entering. We're going to do the drawing before the end of the night, but I'm going to let it run for a few hours. Enter, and then space, and the number of tickets, where the number of tickets is max you can do is your weirdos divided by 100, okay? So there you go. Let's see how well this goes. I should get my popcorn to see if the bot freezes up. All right. So far, so good. Let's see what happened with Voltans. It's working. It's working. So somebody be a guinea pig for me and just hit enter. Exclamation point enter so you can see what happens. There you go. So Tridine, you originally would have had 154. It entered 1. Now you have 153 left. Oh my goodness. Voltan, thank you for the 500 bits. Really appreciate that, buddy. And Grease, thank you for the 56 months. Let me add that time. That puts us up to almost 9 hours, guys. Almost 9 hours. It works, guys. It works! So, your max entry electricasms would be 34 tickets. 34.
First try.
You're also going to give me the extra time to code the bot for the thingy that's coming up. Oh, no problem, Martine. We got to take care of things, right? So there you go. Dankleb's the way you did it? Yeah, exactly. See, that's a good example. So if somebody just puts enter, it will put you one ticket in, and then it'll tell you how many tickets left you have to enter. And it is cumulative. So like Danklebs is a good example. He did 1, and then he was able to do 21 more. And so now he has a total of 22 in there. The only downside is it doesn't tell you how many tickets you have in like the old bot does. You'll just have to remember. No, you did that on purpose to give me you wanted to demonstrate how the bot works. I thought that was brilliant. Yeah. So there you go. It's working. Mm-hmm. And as people come in, we'll reiterate that for them. Mm-hmm. Boss Fu made homemade mac and cheese, some chicken, and some broccoli for supper. Good stuff. And yes, I am eating my chicken with my mac and cheese because it's awesome. All right, now. Oh my goodness. Serene with the 5 gifted subs. Oh my word. Serene got us to a level 2 hype train. Thank you guys. I'm walking on air. I never thought I could be so free. Tridine, thank you for the 500 bits. Hang on, I gotta add time now. That was awesome. That was awesome. That puts us up to 9 hours and 54 minutes. The 5 gifted subs from Serene, the 500 bits from Tridine. And now that puts us up over 10 hours. Holy cow, Martine. Thank you for gifting to Weirdo Bot. 10 hours and 4 minutes, guys. That is unbelievable. We're over 10 hours already. And the Subathon's not even till Saturday. Thank you, Martine. Thank you, Serene. That was incredible. And thank you, Grease. Wow. Cheers, guys. Yeah, so hot dogs and mac and cheese. I'm going to have to try that because I love those things. I love hot dogs. I love mac and cheese. So why not, right? So, guys, tonight is going to be kind of like a chill talk show type night. We are going to be talking. We are going to be watching and reacting to the Diablo 4 live stream. And then I'll be watching and reacting to Rax's reaction to it and Riker's reaction to it. Because I'd love to get their takes as well. After I give my take, I'm going to watch and see what their takes are. And we'll kind of analyze and talk about that. So it's going to be kind of like a talk show night. Don't worry. We don't have to talk about just Diablo. If there's something else you want to bring up and talk about, we can talk about that as well. But it's going to be starting off with some Diablo stuff. So add a little ketchup to the hot dogs and mac and cheese, and you got yourself a full meal. So, that's a good question. Are you guys pro ketchup or anti ketchup in the mac and cheese? Nah, Martine, no. Oh my goodness, Kakotan. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for the gifted sub, man. 10 hours and 14 minutes. Thank you so much. Anti. See, I am too. I am anti-ketchup. I am anti-registration. I can't do it. No offense, Stank. I just can't do ketchup on my mac. Same thing with eggs. I cannot do ketchup in with my eggs. I can't do it. I don't know why. Ketchup is for my burgers, my hot dogs, and my burgers, hot dogs, and fries. That's pretty much all I use hot ketchup for. But even then, ketchup used to be pro ketchup, but I became anti ketchup after my dad drowned out the cheese flavor one day. Smoky barbecue sauce over ketchup. Yeah, right, Dank. Sure. I agree, Tridine. I will say this. All right, I have to know if anybody else does this. This is kind of a thing my wife and I do. We mix ketchup and mayonnaise to dip our fries in. Does anybody else do that? If you don't, you're missing out because it's incredible. Ketchup and mayonnaise mixture with fries. Yep. It's awesome. Once in a while? Ain't that just fridge dressing? Not quite, sir. No. Not quite. You've had that? It's okay? Yeah. Yeah, ketchup and mayonnaise on Whoppers? Yeah. But yeah, that's my thing. I love it. All right, let me see. All right. Do they really? Have I seen Step Brothers? I don't know if I've seen it. I'm familiar with it. Will Ferrell and they call it fancy sauce, yeah. Nice. Really, Martine? Now, if I've got a fried chicken sandwich, I can't do ketchup on it, but I'll do mayonnaise and barbecue sauce. I'll do that. Cacotana, I sometimes do ketchup and mustard or mustard and mayonnaise. Okay. Never tried mayo on fries, but we'll give that a try sometime. I do love ketchup and mayo on my bacon cheeseburger. Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, okay, so I will give you a little warning since you've never tried it, Voltan. You may be different. I love mayonnaise, but I can't do just mayonnaise on my fries. But if I do ketchup and mayonnaise mixture, it takes it to another level. It's incredible. So just FYI. Now, you may be different, but I would start with that and try and see what you think, you know. All right. So let's get in and watch this. We'll start with the Diablo 4 video first, and then we'll go from there. I'm looking forward to this, guys. Barbecue sauce is even better than ketchup when I get that fiery chicken at BK and they have to leave off the mayonnaise. Oh man, you have no sense of smell. Oh, okay, so this could be a little different for you, yeah. Yes, I've done something like that. OSU. That's pretty good too, yeah. All right, ladies and gents, let's do this.
We've been saying this whole time that hell is coming. Now, hell is here.
It's something that's always present in a Diablo title, and we wanted to make sure that for Diablo 4, returning to hell was a special moment. We referenced the endgame cinematic with Prava and Inarius taking the fight to hell at the end of the game. We really wanted to capture that experience, that sensation of battle.
By the way, I have not seen any of this. I don't know what's coming in Season 5, so please no spoilers ahead of time. I mean, I know what we were told prior to today, okay? I know that. I know about the new in-game wave-based system and stuff. I know about, you know, like things like that. But I don't know, like, any of the extra details, so looking forward to hearing what they got for us.
Throngs of demons in hell. In the Infernal Hordes, they're going to go into this mode, battle waves of demons, and be able to kind of change the shape of the game experience as you play it.
Those of you who have joined us since base game and throughout the seasons will have noticed that we have this phenomenon in the world that's going on called Hell Tides. Some of you might have noticed that Hell Tides have been getting a lot worse lately.
And now hell is able to pierce the veil that's holding hell back from fully invading Sanctuary and starting to take root in Sanctuary. And we started by asking ourselves some questions. What is the state of Sanctuary right before the Vessel of Hatred happens? How has hell changed now that Mephisto isn't there anymore? What are the demons up to?
Where is Mephisto? Does he have anything to do with this? Or is this just hell rising of its own accord as the prophecy proclaimed?
And so we thought to ourselves, how can we make things even worse for the people in Sanctuary?
Yeah, that's what we want. Even worse.
Very much get to dive into those mysteries with some unlikely allies and really get to the bottom of what's happening. So in this season, we play a lot with the notion of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. How far would you go to save Sanctuary, to save your world? What price would you pay? Would you sacrifice your soul for this? You're gonna meet a guy named Lochran, who at first seems sort of usual, but you're gonna quickly realize that something is off, that something is a little strange with this guy.
So Lochran and Estelle are your allies, and they're going to help you return to hell. Both of them are experts in demons, and they're gonna use that knowledge to help you return to hell and become more powerful to be able to battle the Infernal Hordes.
The Infernal Hordes is a new endgame activity in Diablo 4. It's primarily a wave-based activity.
This is one thing I am really hoping that they, I'm really hoping that they improved, because in the test center it was underwhelming. So hopefully the Infernal Hordes gets the Helltide treatment. By that what I mean is it gets souped up into overdrive, you know, like the Helltides did.
You're going to be fighting wave after wave of demon forces in hell.
So if any of you have ever played wave-based gameplay before, you'll know that things escalate.
We've got meteor strikes and all sorts of things that try to keep you on your toes.
One thing the Infernal Hordes does differently is the notion of infernal offers.
And between each wave, you'll make a choice. you'll be granted an infernal offer, and by choosing one of 3 of these offers, you're going to change the game mode in some way, a positive and a negative.
You can imagine from the depths of hell, these hands rise out and offer you both a boon and a bane, a kiss and a curse. And this is a temptation that the Fell Council is making to you. And in this temptation, you're offered more power, but that power comes at a cost. And so you get to choose, which temptations you're going to pursue during your infernal run, and then customize your experience from there. One of the guiding principles of this game mode is replay. It's an in-game mode that we want to make sure you're playing over and over again. So we really wanted to create a broad set of enemies for you to fight during this mode.
We've got many demons to choose from in the lexicon of Diablo's monster families, but we're also going to see some other foes you might not expect.
There are going to be certain types of enemies like goatmen who have been banished to hell that have now rallied to Mephisto and fight by his side. And even some unlucky souls that marched on hell from the Cathedral of Light have now been revived in hell and fight against you alongside the demons. Basically, everything that hell has to throw at you, we're throwing it at you this season. The Infernal Hordes has been built with multiplayer in mind, but multiplayer is not required. We want to make sure that solo players still have a very fun experience in the Infernal Hordes. Now that said, if you roll in with a party, you're going to have a lot of fun.
This game mode is going to appear in the Eternal and in the Seasonal realm, and that means that once the season is over, it's here to stay.
The Infernal Hordes is unlocked at World Tier 3, so really what you need to do to access it is earn your way up to World Tier 3 and then complete an Eternal quest line that takes you back to Hell and then unlocks the Infernal Hordes. For World Tier 1 and 2 players, we've built out a seasonal progression that'll help them become more powerful in order to be able to confront the Infernal Hordes. First is you can earn reputation, and that reputation applies to a reputation track that earns lots of really cool rewards that'll make you more powerful as you progress onto World Tier 3. The other thing we've built are micro-dungeons called Hell Breaches that offer a glimpse at the Infernal Hordes mechanics. And they give you a chance to learn the mechanics before you confront the Infernal Hordes at World Tier 3.
The final boss in this season is the Fell Council.
And the Fell Council is some familiar faces that you might recognize from Diablo 2.
Take on the council
These
members.
were priests of the Zakarum.
They look really
holy
good.
Men who were corrupted and basically became vessels of hatred in their own right.
The council members in Diablo 2 tried to help contain Mephisto in his soul stone. And of course, Mephisto being Mephisto, slowly but surely corrupted them. And eventually they had soul stones pierced into their hands and became super powerful. But eventually you overcame them and sent them to hell. Through the course of the story, resummoned them. They've been reborn, slightly new powers, but the same animosity toward you.
What's interesting about this boss encounter is there are 5 council members, but you're only going to fight 3 of them at once.
So
this
there'll be
allows
several
us
different
to
combos.
then create many different flavors of the boss fight for the Fell Council. In fact, it's about 10 variations in all. And so every time you go into that council fight, there's a very good chance you're going to have a different fight than the last time you played it. We think it's going to offer a lot of replay for players. What we also introduced during these waves are opportunities for you to earn ether. Burning ether is the resource that you gather during the Infernal Hordes that you can then spend at the end of the activity.
There's going to be a fixed number of waves that you have to defeat, and once you've completed all those waves, then you'll face the Fell Council, defeat them, and collect your treasure.
So upon defeating the Fell Council, the spoils of hell will spawn, and then you consume your burning ether in opening those chests. Now, the trick is, when you are playing through these waves, that's your opportunity to earn as much ether as you can. Different events are going to spawn all throughout the waves, around the periphery of the arena, and it's your job to try and defeat as many of those events as possible to try and gather up all the ether you can.
The idea.
Really skilled players are going to be able to really maximize that ether so they get the biggest payout possible at the end after defeating the Fell Council.
So with this burning ether, you'll be able to get new uniques, you'll be able to get new legendaries, you'll be able to get rare materials, things you might have scoured the whole of Sanctuary for in previous seasons or in the base game, but now we offer it to you here, down in the depths of hell.
A lot of these new uniques and legendaries really build on top of this idea that they've been forged in hell. And so they're going to have unique looks that you can then make into cosmetics.
I hear they have completely reworked all the uniques. That was an issue we had last season, was that because of tempering and masterworking, well, mostly tempering, right? Because you could masterwork uniques, but you couldn't temper them. So because of tempering, you couldn't. You rarely got a unique, if ever, that was as good as the legendaries. So that was a complaint that we've had. A lot of the fan base had. The giveaway is today. So if you want to enter, check and see how many weirdos you have. Divide that by 100, rounding down to the nearest, whole number, and then enter ! Enter space and the number of tickets you want to enter. Okay? There you go. You got it. That's how you do it. Perfect. So, like, naughty years would be 87 max. Yep. That's it. No. So, the Weirdo Pal, everything's frozen right now until Saturday. Saturday at the start of the stream will technically... Ideally, it would have started tonight because tonight's the beginning of the month, but it didn't work out because of the bugs we had with the bot. Saturday, we'll start everything over. Yep. There you go. Yeah, right, Jardine? There you go. And by the way, just for future reference, if we do end up doing on a future giveaway, if we have it set up to where the accrual is going and you're earning weirdos, your entries are cumulative, okay? Cumulative. So let's say you entered like Naughty entered 87. If over the course of the stream, Naughty earned enough weirdos to do 3 more entries, Naughty could just type ! Enter 3, and it would add those 3 to the 87 that were already previously entered. Okay, so it's all cumulative. So, yep. All right. So anyway, yep. That's and we'll do the drawing right before the end of the stream.
To apply wherever you like. They can also have unique VFX and sound effects to really create the sense that they were forged in hell. One particular one that I enjoy using a lot are boots. Boots, you say? Well, these boots not only have been forged in hell. Whenever you use a power with a cooldown, they shoot out a ring of fire that hits everyone
That's
around.
really cool.
That's just one sample of the types of powers we're exploring.
So death in the Infernal Hordes is quite a big deal. You're returning to the realm of hatred where Mephisto was born. Like, this has to be a big deal.
In the Infernal Hordes, it's a lot like Nightmare Dungeons. You only get a fixed number of revives in order to be able to get to the end of your run. So at lower difficulties of the Infernal Hordes, you'll get a number of revives shared between your party. But at higher difficulty levels, the game is going to start taking away those revives, and that increases the stakes that you have.
If you die too much, you'll be ejected from the mode. In the Infernal Hordes, we created a lot of new ways for monsters to ambush the players, and so I'm pretty stoked to see how our players respond to these.
The seasonal quest line and the eternal quest line, they have lots of little surprises and twists and turns in them. And there's even some surprises we've buried deep within the Infernal Hordes that hopefully players will have a great time with.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of one-shot mechanics. We'll have to see how that works out. We'll say I'll take a wait-and-see approach. And I expect there'll be some fine-tuning as it gets into our hands, you know.
Hello,
all right,
everyone,
here we go.
And welcome to our Season of the Infernal Hordes developer update stream. My name is Marcus Kretz. I'm a community manager here on the Diablo team, and today I'm joined by some very familiar faces. Adam and Adam, welcome to the stream.
All right, Martin.
Yeah, we did it. We took it over. We took it over. It's just Adam and this is Adam.
Hi, I'm Marcus. This is my brother Adam. This is my other brother Adam. Sorry, couldn't resist. I'm an 80s child. What do you expect?
Yeah. An Adam show. Now I don't even have to host. Yeah, no, it feels great.
Yeah, and for everyone curious in chat, Adam is not going anywhere. As you all know, there's a ton going on in Diablo. Yeah, Adam Fletcher isn't going.
This one, yes.
Adam Jackson.
I deal with this
Adam Fletcher. There's a ton going on in Diablo right now. We've had a ton of live streams. There's been so much going on, so it's just a lot easier to share the load amongst all the hosting live streams.
We just finished the Spiritborn live stream, so it's been a little crazy, and Marcus is here to help out. So you guys may see Marcus more here hosting some live streams in the future. But yeah, I'm not disappearing.
Today, you're
Adam is
Colin today.
Yeah.
Take over
exactly.
Stuff,
Today I get to pretend I'm Colin.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. Some big shoes to fill there. So,
that is absolutely true. In terms of everything that's been going on in Diablo, we just had our season
Rip Bob
PTR,
Newhart.
and we've got a lot of learnings.
Yeah, but we also do have one additional person.
Of course we do. Mr. Dan Tangway from Albany, New York. Dan, welcome to the stream.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
Doing great.
Good to see you.
See, Dan's in like.
I love Dan's background. Hey, Von Beardley, how you doing?
Yeah.
Dan's background is epic. Well, they're both good, but I really like Dan's.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today, Dan. And the Season 5 PTR.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of learnings. This was our second PTR for Diablo 4. So we have a ton of feedback to get into, but we also have some notes from the community on the PTR overall and some learnings. So Adam, do you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, most definitely. This is now our second PTR that we had. We had one for Season 4 and, of course, one now for Season 5. And, we've learned a lot from these PTRs. PTRs are incredibly important. They're huge. They're really beneficial for the whole entire team here. And one thing we heard a lot of feedback, at least from the Season 5 PTR, is obviously as you're playing through a PTR, it's a non-final thing that you're playing. It's still very early on. There are going to be more bugs, more issues just present in the PTR because we are getting something out there a little bit earlier just so we can get feedback in on it. But one thing that I think we most definitely heard from the community is, hey, the tools within PTR at times haven't been the best or the most efficient for players that need to actually test the content that we actually do have. And so one thing that we did want to at least address and highlight and acknowledge is that we do plan on making the PTR experiences better in the future. We do plan on equipping more tools for players out there so they're not having to sit there and grind out, maybe like all the new legendaries or uniques or something like it, especially in like Season 5, for example. We gave a character copy feature in this one. And then, of course, we had the boost
you're
feature
right,
which came
Von
back from
Beardley.
Season 4. And when you boosted your character, a new character, you would end up getting some of the new legendaries or uniques within Season 5. What happened, though, is that it wasn't all of them. And then we had players within Season 5 having to actually go out and spend their time that they probably could be testing other things, like trying to find those items. And obviously that's like not the most efficient thing to do. So we do want to, we hear everyone, we acknowledge it, we do want to make the PTR experience better. So I will say that like in future PTRs, and you'll see this gradually over the next couple PTRs, it won't be all of a sudden like things will be completely different, but I do expect like, and players should expect like that we will have better tools for them to properly test as we gradually go through PTRs in the future. And we appreciate everyone like letting us know. Like,
so that's good. That sounds like they're first of all, they're planning on doing more PTRs, which we figured they would. But they're planning on tweaking and evolving the process going forward, which the more efficient the PTR process, the better product we'll get when the season launches. I like that they're learning.
We most definitely hear you guys, and we most definitely want to make that experience better from that. But PTRs have been great.
Sorry, Von Beardley. Yeah, this is the developer live stream for Diablo 4. We're just getting started. They're going to be talking about the things coming in Season 5, which starts on Tuesday. We'll be ready for it. And this is probably going to be the biggest, most impactful season in Diablo 4 yet. So we'll see, but it's exciting. We're gonna get some good information tonight. Yeah, and that's another thing too, Voltan. They know, right? You haven't gotten past level 30. Yeah, it's a different flavor from the other ARPGs, so I get it. Not everybody is going to be. It's not for everybody, you know.
Huge thanks to everyone for jumping in and checking it out for sure. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that feedback is so important. So increasing how great these PTRs are is really, really important. And I know for the Season 5 PTR,
I hear that, Von
features
Beardley.
that we had in there was the Infernal Hordes itself. So for everyone who didn't get a chance to jump into the PTR, Mr. Dan Tangway, can you kind of walk us through what the Infernal Hordes is and what players can expect?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you all a quick recap. So, the Infernal Hordes is a wave-based activity with push your luck choices in between each of those waves. So imagine waves of monsters coming in, lots and lots of monsters, in fact. And you also have some events, mini events that you can also participate in. Now, in between those waves, you're going to be making what's called the Infernal Offer. And you're going to pick a boon or a bane, and that's going to change your gameplay for the rest of the run. So it allows you to customize what your Infernal run is going to be like. And so we probably see right here, yep, we've got a Infernal Offer that comes up. So you're going to select one of those, and that will then change, of course, the rest of the run. Now, when you complete the required number of waves, then you're able to go confront the Fell Council, who you can see here. And the Fell Council, as you saw from the video that just came on right before this live stream, are former servants, well, actually current servants of Mephisto that you defeated in Diablo 2.
I know, I can't wait, Voltan.
And you must fight them once more.
It's
and
crazy.
Once you beat them, you're going to be able to spawn what's called the Spoils of Hell. And these are chests that contain a lot of great goodies. And so with that Burning Aether you've been collecting all through the course of the mode, you're able to choose what kind of spoils you want. You've got spoils of legendaries and uniques, and there's some absolutely great new uniques and legendaries in Season 5, and you can probably farm about half of them, over half of them from the Infernal Hordes. You're also able to spawn spoils of materials and buy into that, and that will get you gem shards, that will get you angel's breath, and of course that'll get you masterworking materials, which you absolutely need to complete your items journey. You can also cash out and get a bunch of gold, which, for those folks who are re-rolling their items in order to masterwork them or to enchant their items, is going to be hugely beneficial.
They've done a better job recently of making gold a currency that is impactful. That was always an issue in Diablo 3 and the early days of Diablo 4. It's kind of been up and down, but it's getting to the point where it's pretty good.
Official. And then finally, there's a special bonus chest at higher tiers where you can get a guaranteed roll on a greater affix item.
Oh,
and so
how about that?
Since that's one of the main chases in the the final steps of the end game, we wanted to make sure there was an opportunity for players to really get a little more lucky with it. So final thoughts on the Infernal Hordes. Remember that it unlocks at World Tier 3. You need an Infernal Compass in order to unlock it, and there's 8 levels of difficulty for it. And so, that's a quick recap.
Awesome. Thanks for walking us through, Dan. Super excited to jump in and try to grab some of those uniques. Now, I know considering the Infernal Hordes was such a big part of PTR, we did have a lot of community feedback with regards to getting into the mode, and, some of the pacing. So can you walk us through some of those learnings we had based off the PTR feedback?
Oh, absolutely. So there was a lot of feedback that came in, and so much so that we weren't able to address it all. But we did distill down some big trends and feedback that we were able to tackle. And so the first off is that we wanted to improve access to the Infernal Hordes. So it was just too hard to get into the mode regularly to test it. And folks who wanted to get into it very quickly couldn't get into it either. So we've pretty much overhauled access to the Infernal Hordes at this point. Compasses still exist, but the drop rates on those have been boosted quite a bit. We want you to earn around 4 or 5 compasses an hour so that you can do about 4 or 5 hour runs per hour. So, you've got, 50% chance to get them from item chests and hell tides, unless it's one of those item chests that costs, 250 cinders, in which case that's 100% chance. I mean, you put in the time, we'll just give it to you. And then, Nightmare Dungeon and Whispers, there's about a 75% chance to get one from a dungeon complete there. Compass tiers at really high levels. We wanted to make sure drop naturally from high-tiered activities like Nightmare Dungeons and the Pit. And we've also given you a path to just crafting these outright with the Occultists, with Sigil Power and Forgotten Souls. And then finally, it was a bug that the first compass that dropped from the Eternal Quest, it was actually a World Tier 3. And if you were playing World Tier 4, you had to switch back to actually get in the Infernal Hordes, and that didn't feel great. So we updated that as well. Moving along, the next big thing that we focused on was combat. All
right, I want to read this here. This was the biggest complaint. Improved pacing of wave combat. Fixed boss health, bugs that caused all bosses to be super tanky. Fixed a bug where difficulty wasn't scaling appropriately in multiplayer. Increased the pace of many event spawn rates at higher tiers. Increased monster spawn rates to increase the feeling of being overwhelmed. Okay, good. Reduce the wave timer to 60 seconds from 90 seconds. That was another thing, having to wait so long in between waves. Return the wave counts based on the shorter time. Easier to pick up Burning Aether. Pets now pick up Ether. Okay, cool, good.
Pacing of combat wasn't hitting our goals. And, we had done a lot of internal testing on it. And, folks who weren't as in-game focused gave us a lot of feedback where, oh, this is super intense. Could we dial it back a little bit? So we did, but then we put it out on PTR and clearly all said, hey, no, we want more. So we're giving you more. The first thing that we did, though, is we fixed some bugs that actually had a really big impact on the experience. There was a boss health bug. Man, that is hard to say. Boss health bug that caused all the bosses to be super tanky. And at tier 8, there were some folks who were spending almost an hour's worth of time in the Infernal's Horde, and that's not what we wanted. So we fixed those bugs and retuned everything, so it's a much tighter experience at this point. Similarly, there was a bug where difficulty wasn't scaling appropriate in multiplayer, so we fixed that. And then some tuning things. So the pace of mini events are pretty much rapid fire at high tiers now, and so you're going to be spinning a lot of plates in this mode. The monster spawn rates have also been increased to, really capture that feeling of being overwhelmed. And then finally, we reduced the wave timer down to 60 seconds, which,
that's good.
Just creates a much punchier experience for players. And of course, retuned
That's a good
everything.
start.
And
Some
then,
good start to changes
on top
here.
of that, we said, you know what? Let's just make it easier for players to pick up Burning Aether to increase that pace. So the pets now pick up the Burning Aether as well. And that's not all. Now, of course, we're all playing this for the rewards, right? And so it was really important for us to improve rewards across the board. You spend time with the mode, you want to be rewarded appropriately, and we weren't hitting that mark in the PTR. So we raised the minimum amount of Burning Aether earned from any single run.
Oh, nice,
First
DJ.
off, every single source of Aether got boosted by 1 Aether. And then we added Aether drops to the Fell Council so that you're also getting, a lot of bang for your buck just by defeating the boss as well. And that actually scales per tier as well. Next up, we retuned all the costs of the Spoils of Hell. So, the greater equipment, that one with the greater affects in it, used to cost $250, now it only costs $60. Similarly, we retuned the Spoils of Equipment and the Spoils of Materials, so now they only cost 20 Aether a piece. And then finally, we retuned all the rewards that were inside, the chest as well. So, at your bare minimum level, when you first start playing the Infernal Hordes and you're not sure exactly how it works, we still want you to feel rewarded just for the time that you invested. And so the rewards at that bare minimum feel pretty good now. But, if you are spending a lot of time with it, and you know how to optimize this mode, we wanted to make sure that, the rewards reflected that too, so that that higher, ceiling of rewards has been raised as well. So you're playing at tier 8, you are going to get significantly more rewards than you would at Tier 1.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
quite a bit.
Yeah, nice.
Dan, your shirt is amazing.
I will say interrupt, but
I like his shirt too. That's good
Now
stuff.
I just want that shirt, and I'm very jealous that I don't actually own that shirt. So I will message you after the stream to let me know where I can get this shirt.
Yeah, I think someone on the team made it. So I was like, I needed a new shirt for the live stream. So
that is her art, 100%. Yes.
Well, now we know.
Okay, now I know.
And it is totally awesome. I had to wear it. So.
It is, Aaron. I totally know.
Aaron, we will be touching base after the stream.
Yes.
Yeah, Dan, that's a ton of changes. It sounds like we're really cranking up the intensity for the Infernal Hordes. Really, really cool to see. Super excited to jump into it. So I know for the Infernal Hordes, that's one part of the season that's coming, but there was a lot that players didn't get to experience in the PTR that will be coming with the season. So can you kind of share what's going to be new for players coming into Season 5?
Yeah, absolutely. So the PTR was really focused on
All
features
right, Von
that
Beardley,
were on
have a
both the
good night,
Eternal
man.
Realm and
We'll
the
see you
Seasonal
later.
Realm. And we have a number of seasonal exclusive features that y'all haven't had a chance to play with yet. So I'm going to tell you about them now.
Let's hear about it.
First up, we've got the seasonal progression. So you're going to see what we call the reputation system and some footage here in just a second.
Yeah, they mentioned
And
reputation.
The reputation system is something that we had in season 4
Season 4.
and actually earlier in some events, and we've brought it back here because it serves as a great backbone for the season. And we've evolved.
What's nice about this faction progression, it worked really well in Season 4. In fact, one of the things I loved about it was you could do it on each character, so there was a reason to level up and grind on multiple characters. I really liked that.
It in some significant ways. So first off, how you earn reputation is a bit different now. It was really important for us in Season 5 to give you more of a give you more choice in how you wanted to earn your reputation. So previously in Season 4, you earn reputation through just playing Hell Tides, as you should, because we made a lot of improvements to Hell Tides in Season 4, but here we wanted to broaden it out a bit more. So you earn reputation in Season 5 by just defeating powerful servants of Hell. Elites, Hellborn, champions, bosses, so on and so forth, right? And so that gives you a lot more choice to say, hey, I can earn reputation in Hell Tides, or I want to earn it in the Infernal Hordes, or honestly, I want to take a break and do a Stronghold. You'll get reputation there too. Another small tweak that we made that's pretty important is that when you pick up reputation, you actually get a small boost in XP as well.
Cool.
As you're continually filling out your reputation track, you're starting to level up just a little more quickly than you did before. Now, another thing that you might have seen are these big green tiles in the reputation system, and those are seasonal quests. So we made it very clear that hitting certain tiers of your reputation system now unlock the seasonal quests, and it actually starts to weave the narrative through the progression a bit more, which we really like the feel of, and we hope to build on in the future.
Okay.
And then finally, again, it's all about the rewards, right? So there's lots of great returning rewards in the reputation system. You're going to be able to earn uniques, specifically class-based uniques. They're going to help you figure out what you want your build to be early on in the season. You're also going to be able to get other powerful equipment, big drops of crafting materials, and of course, at the very end of the reputation track will be a resplendent spark that you can use to ultimately craft a mythic unique.
That's one of the things I loved about.
Next up, we've got the seasonal quest line. I was teasing it up a little bit with the reputation system there. So the Season of the Infernal Hordes has a rather unique narrative flow because we have an Eternal quest line that introduces, a big new feature that takes you back to Hell, right? And so we wanted to make sure that was available to everybody, not just seasonal players. And that also starts at World Tier 3. Now, those of you who played the PTR have already seen it. That's the one that features Lokrin helping you to get back to Hell and confront the Infernal Hordes. But we've developed an additional secondary, well, not really secondary, an additional seasonal quest line named of Lambs and Wolves, which we're kind of teasing right here. And new NPC named Estelle is guiding you to become more powerful before you join Lokren to journey back to Hell. Now, this one's going to be a little closer in tone to the Iron Wolves quest in Season 4, but it's going to be a bit more expansive than that. And like I said, it weaves in and out of the seasonal progression. So how do they relate to one another? Well, the seasonal quest line is exclusive to Season 5. And so you are able to get a really more complete picture of the story by playing both the seasonal quest line and the eternal quest line. You can kind of think of the seasonal quest line as almost like a prequel to you unlocking the Infernal Hordes. And but we also wanted to make sure that our Eternal players don't get left out. This is an Eternal mode that we're introducing after all with the Infernal Hordes. And so, you know, the Eternal quest line here, which is named Eyes of the Enemy, is going to be available for all players and won't go away after the season ends. So it's going to be there forever. So if you decide sometime down the road that you want to check out the Infernal.
Okay, so that's cool. So they're giving people on non-seasonal realm, the Eternal realm, a chance to unlock these Infernal Hordes. I like that. That's really good.
Hordes and say, I don't know, Season 6, you can do that, right?
I don't play on Eternal Realm, but some people do, you know?
And so, yeah, that's where we ended up with the quest lines this season. And then the final thing I want to introduce are the Hellbreach dungeons, which we've gotten a few teases of before, but we can go into more detail here. So these are all new micro dungeons to show that Hell has started taking root in Sanctuary. Now, since the Infernal Hordes is an endgame activity, World Tier 3+, we wanted to make sure we had some content that targeted our World Tier 1 and 2 players. And so you go into these, it's going to be a great source of reputation. It's going to be a great place to get some powerful items. And it's a pretty cool place to just kind of experience what the gameplay is going to be like down the road. Now, originally we had kind of patterned these off the Donheim tunnels. You know,
the domain tunnels.
But you know, with the introduction of Helltide in Season 4, we had to change it up a little bit because I don't think that alone would have sufficed. And so what we did is we pulled in a lot of elements from the Infernal Hordes, and we're using this as an opportunity to introduce those elements. So you see right here, we've got a simple Infernal choice.
Okay, this is cool.
That shows, you know, that basically says, okay, do I want my boss to be a little simpler or a little more difficult? And you get to choose. Hopefully the person playing chose the more difficult one. I didn't see, but you're going to be rewarded a lot more for taking that risk of making the boss more difficult. And you're going to be earning Burning Aether, and at the end there are going to be some spoils that you can spend on. And like I said, you'll get some really powerful gear that should help you on your journey toward encountering the Infernal Hordes.
Nice.
So if you want more details on these, I recommend that you check out our blog that came out 2 days ago. And yeah, thank you.
Dan, that's awesome. I got to say, chat got pretty excited when you mentioned domain tunnels. They kind of blew up.
Yeah, I figured they did.
Everyone remembers the dopamine tunnels.
Yeah,
right.
And it's great that there's now like opportunities for players within like World Tier 1 and 2 to actually be able to have other options of leveling up. And with these new Hell Breaches, it's
a good way to
for people
tease in the new content.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you get into those Infernal Hordes in World Tier 3 and away you go. Yeah, that's awesome. Dan, thanks so much for joining us. As Dan had mentioned, we did publish the Season of the Infernal Hordes blog a little bit earlier this week. We are going to have patch notes that will publish following the stream. So for any details we reveal across the stream, you can check those out for more information. Yep. Dan's going to join us towards the end of the stream for our Q&A. So if you have any questions, please drop those in Twitch chat, and we'll be pulling them to get into those towards the end of the stream. So we just touched on a ton of stuff that's coming in Season of the Infernal Hordes itself, but based off the PTR, we also have a ton of changes coming across Sanctuary.
Yes.
And to walk us through from the other end of the stream,
Here we go.
Mr. Adam Fletcher.
I get to pretend like I'm
All right, before we get into what's coming in the general game changes, I need a quick break, guys. So let me get up and stretch the legs for a minute, and we'll be back, and we'll get back to this. So listen. We are doing our end of the month giveaway tonight. If you've joined a little later in the stream, you can join the giveaway. The way it works is you check and see how many weirdos you have, and divide that by 100. So basically, lop off the last two numbers, and that's how many tickets you can enter. Okay? So you would go exclamation point enter, and then the number of tickets you want to enter. So like in Fame Seeker's case, it would be, if you wanted to do max, which you might as well because we're resetting weirdos on Saturday, and exclamation point enter 64. Yeah. So, and then that would be how to do it. Yep. Yeah, it's each ticket's 100 weirdos fame. Sorry, not it used to be 10. Used to be 10. Yeah, that's okay. We had it as 10 to 1 for so long. I could see why you would do that. Yeah. But yeah, that's it. And then so I'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right. Back at it. What's up, D Holt? How you doing? Okay, so let's get to it.
I'm the person.
See what kind of changes they made.
I'm gonna.
You designed and did all of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
This was
put in all the
me.
changes.
No, we have a fantastic design team here, and I am gonna bring in my inner Colin Finer to talk about some stuff. But yes, as Marcus mentioned, there's a lot of changes. A lot of the stuff that we actually did talk about in the blog, and some of the.
So D Holt, the entry, it's each ticket is 100 weirdos. Okay, so you could enter. You already entered one. You can do 7 more. So if you did ! Enter 7, that would enter 7 more tickets in, and that would be the max you could do. Yep, if you want to do that. Yep.
The stuff that people heard from PTR, but there have been changes even since PTR, and we have a few new things in here that will also squeak in here as we're talking about it. But one big topic I know that everyone brought up after PTR, and that we even brought up even during our PTR stream, was Helltide specifically. One big topic within Helltides was Baneful Hearts. If you guys remember back during the PTR stream, we talked about how Season 4, everyone had a plethora.
There were way too many in Season 4.
It felt like everyone was always carrying about 100 to 150 at any given time, and you could deposit as many to your heart's desire and still always have that same amount. We wanted Painful Hearts to feel a little bit more special. And so during the PTR, we actually did take the number down in terms of how many you would be able.
By the way, just a reminder, guys, you might as well spend all your weirdos, because every month the economy resets. So Saturday starts a new season of Foo Weirdos. So there's no point in hanging on to them if you want to put in the max, you know. How's play practice been going, D-Hole?
To earn. We did hear everyone's feedback. People were like, that feels kind of crappy. So we most definitely readjusted the drop rate of Baneful Hearts to really kind of close that gap between Season 4 and Season 5
in
PTR.
between.
We wanted to make sure that was, it feels better. Like you won't have 150 on you at all times, most likely, but you still have plenty now to be able to summon the Maiden as well. So some of the changes that we have coming up for Baneful Hearts and the rates that will help with this is we're bumping up the drop rates off of chests within Helltide specifically. Players will also be able to get a guaranteed heart drop off of Helltide commanders now. And then one big thing is within world bosses, we actually have an image of like where you'll be able to now get your hard drop rates guaranteed, is world bosses. Sometimes world bosses actually do spawn within a Helltide zone, and we thought it would be kind of cool that, hey, you killed the world boss there and a Helltide happened to be present in that specific zone where the world boss is. Now you'll just get a guaranteed 3 within that world boss kill, which is kind of nice. So
that's super cool.
We're also bumping up the drop chance to like local events, mastery chests within Helltide, and of course Harbingers within it as well. And then one big change that we're doing within this as well is the Blood Maiden within World Tier 1 and 2 in Season 4 and even Season 5 PTR, you would have to deposit 3 hearts, just like World Tier 3 and World Tier 4. We're actually tweaking that down to just 2, so for World Tier 1 and 2. So there'll be one less like altar pedestal for you to deposit a heart for to summon the Blood Maiden within World Tier 1 and 2, which should help out with,
It just makes your farming a little bit quicker in the early levels.
Exactly. And it doesn't feel like you're needing to put in that many for those earlier levels.
That much easier to chain a ton of Blood Maidens back to back to back.
Exactly, yeah. So next thing we did want to talk about is within Helltides as Tortured Gifts, another change for World Tier 1 and 2.
Penguin.
There'll be less cinders required to open up
that's cool. I like that change.
World Tier 1 and 2, so it's dropping from 100 to 75.
That'll help you gear up quicker. I like that.
And then this is something we talked about in the last stream, where it was like really difficult for players to actually kind of go through a Helltide and complete a full-on Tree of Whispers progression line within Helltide. So now you'll actually be able to earn all 10 Grim Favors within a Helltide for sure. when it's in one subzone, and actually deposit that within the tree.
That's nice.
And get the whisper cache out of it. I know sometimes it would take like sometimes 2 hell tides to actually do it, or you would have to leave the hell tide and go to a non-hell tide zone to kind of finish it off and stuff. And so we wanted to make sure that was more efficient, specifically within hell tides. And then this was a big thing.
Big one.
Oh, I liked it.
So, we talked about during the Season 5 PTR stream that we were, that Profane Mind Cages were a Season 4 mechanic. It was
well,
only
they were,
within that.
yeah.
And so it was removed from Season 5, heard the feedback, and people were like, wow, we really miss Mind Cages, bring them back, what's going on? So we did bring them back, and we brought them back in a cooler form. So now you can stack up. So one, Profane Mind Cages are coming back for Season 5. You can actually stack these now up to 3x in Season 5. This is seasonal only. So
I like
this is
that they can
only
stack
on
now.
the seasonal realm specifically. But now stacking up to 3x does actually boost up monster
Better
levels
rewards,
pretty
XP,
significant.
better,
Yeah, so you'll end up, you could knock monster levels up, 30 levels if you wanted to, and you will benefit or maybe suffer. But it does give players the option now to use that, and so Profane Mind Cages are back and in a kind of a cooler form for Season 5, which is really cool, and we really appreciate the feedback we heard from players regarding Hell Tides on that. Next, overall, just general game updates that we do have. One big thing that we're doing is we are boosting legendary drop rates off of really pretty much almost like most content, like Hell Tides, Nightmare Dungeons, Infernal Hordes, for any monster that is level 100 or higher. So you'll be able to see and just obtain more legendaries that way, less rares, things like that. Separately, enchanting, one big thing we heard is, people were somewhat blocked a little bit with Angel's Breath. And so we did remove Angel's Breath as a cost towards enchanting. It's no longer required. We've actually now kind of just swapped this over to the respective legendary salvage. So for instance, armor, it would be Coiling Wards, weapons, Baleful Fragments, and then jewelry, Abstruse Sigils. Tongue twister there.
Abstruse Sigils.
Abstruse Sigils.
But you now have the ability of being able to do enchanting. Just note that, of course, gold costs are still associated with enchanting, but now it's a little bit, removing a little bit of that friction with the Angel's Breath requirement. And then this is something that we had talked about beforehand, which is just crowd control. Overall, within Season 5 is going to be a lot better. I know crowd control can be sometimes painful, or either knocked down,
or here knocked down and frozen for a million years, and crying, and then dying horribly.
And so CC duration,
being able to use potions while
pretty much
CC'd is good
across the board to like 1.5 seconds max. And then one cool feature is you can also spam potions now while you're CC'd. Really good for like people in hardcore, or like maybe it's like it creates more desperate moments of like I'm still dying no matter what. But you now have the ability of being able to spam potions specifically if you are CC'd, which is really nice. We were talking about charging like
bloated corpse fiends when they all stun you and they do the poison AoE.
Exactly.
As a keyboard slammer myself, thank you. For
exactly.
change.
Next update we have is world bosses. So funny enough, this actually fell into Season 5 PTR, but that we forgot to actually put it in Season 5 PTR notes. And we actually forgot to actually mention it. We got a lot of reports of people going like, hey, why are world bosses like tankier and harder to kill?
They actually fight back now. Wait, what?
It's like, what's going on? So they actually had a feature called Resilience on there. Essentially, Resilience normalizes damage across like all world content. So it's like if you shared world content. So like if a bunch of people are all coming into a world boss, you should expect to find that the world bosses will be a little bit more tankier, a little bit longer in terms of the experience that you're having as you're fighting against them. And less, like, hey, I blinked and it's gone.
Okay, so there were a couple of issues I felt with world bosses, and we'll see if they address it. I think that the world bosses are going to be something that's going to be a bugaboo for them for, going forward, because first of all, they don't really feel so grand and epic. And maybe this change helps that. But another issue I find is there's no real reason to fight them other than like the shattered prism that you use to add sockets to jewelry, right? It's like, other than that, when you get a little bit farther into the season and you've got a few shattered prisms, especially the scattered prisms, whatever they're called, I don't know. It just feels like, and I don't know what the solution is to make them more rewarding. But yeah, I'd like to see them do something to make them more rewarding. That is great. The potion changes so terrible. Yeah. You know it's coming and you can't stop it. Yeah, no, that's definitely a good quality of life change.
Oh, sweet. The boss was here for 3 seconds. Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
3, man. Mine, they barely even spawn in. I don't know about you.
It was actually present in PTR, and we actually got a lot of people that were going like, hey, I think this is a bug, and it actually wasn't a bug. It was just
they can spawn.
We forgot to actually
they dropped some other things now, too.
In the patch notes, so that is our bad, but we do want to make sure that everyone's aware that world bosses now have a feature called Resilience, and that will end up helping out with those encounters specifically. Separately for bosses, pit boss damage has been reduced pretty much across the board.
That had to happen.
And then one big thing that we did want to call out is we got a lot of feedback within season 4 and of course the PTR for season 5. We saw some people address the changes that we were having there, but pit bosses had this tendency within season 4 to have like very sharp damage.
Yeah.
Where it would scale up really
way
hard
out of whack compared to the rest of the mobs in that dungeon.
And you could potentially just get one shot based off of like the shadow boss that would
the
appear.
extra ones.
Yeah, I agree. Electric
you and laugh as they left and you died.
Yeah, so now there is a feature within season 5 where those shadow pit boss affixes will appear, and they'll actually leave kind of a stacking debuff onto players now. So and it can go up to 3 times, and then obviously when it gets to the max, you have a very good chance of getting heavily punished for taking up to 3 debuffs from that end. This is really to allow a little bit more flexibility for players, based off of the feedback we heard regarding a lot of the one-shots and things like that. You now have the ability of being able to...
So that's part of the... they're at least addressing part of the issue, Electrogasms, by reducing the one-shots. That's good.
Mart's PGH cheered. X100. Resilience is normalized when you go back to eating Papa John's from eating Lou Malnati's or New York pizza. The Shadow Pizza boss will reset every 69 hours.
There you go. Every 69 hours. There you go. Resilience. Yeah. Thank you for the bits, sir. But yeah, it looks like they're reducing the potential for one-shots. So that's good. We'll see how it goes. Is Kiss Curse ideal? Well, we'll see, right? We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Take a couple of these debuffs and maybe not completely get punished from that. It's less about the perfection kind of involved, but more so being a little bit more forgiving in some of those opportunities. Now, if you are a person that just face tanks things and goes in and immediately takes 3 debuffs, you're probably still gonna learn that that damage is still going to be very sharp with the 3 debuffs.
Yeah.
So, but it is something to help out. In regards to that.
Yeah, to be clear, how that debuff works is every time that you get hit with one of those shadow boss mechanics, you'll take the debuff, and it increases all of your damage taken. So the regular boss is going to hit you harder, and the shadow bosses are going to hit you harder too.
Exactly.
So you just don't want that to ramp up too much, because then everything is going to be more punishing.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's a few people already asking about those debuffs in chat. So
yeah, it just increases all your damage taken. So basically, you get some freebies of getting hit by them. You really don't want to, but then after that, you got to watch out.
Yeah, so you got to watch those.
Season 4 was
those stacks, so it won't happen all at once.
And then another big thing, so this was something that was actually not present in the PTR, but it's something that we've heard a lot of feedback about, and actually a ton of feedback about. And this is group play in
there you
pits.
go.
In season 4, the way that it worked was if you were in the pit and you were the party leader, and you had 3 friends that joined along, you would essentially get through the pit, you would get all the masterworking materials for yourself, 100% of them, and then everyone else around that joined you would only get about like 50%. And it felt pretty punishing for people to really kind of join up with friends and run through pits. And we heard a lot of feedback of like, hey, it'd be great if I'm just joining my friend, we can all just get, 100% of the pit material rewards. And so that is being tweaked for Season 5. Now, the whole entire party itself will end up receiving 100% of the materials that you end up receiving at the end of the pit. So we appreciate the feedback. Thank you guys for letting us know. And this is something that wasn't in PTR, but will be for Season 5. Next up, we have endgame bosses. So this is something, of course, we talked about during the PTR, and we do want to highlight again because I think this is amazing.
This is a good quality of life, too.
So, you can now resummon endgame bosses immediately after you end up killing them.
Yeah,
so
right, Penguin, there you go.
Ladders and stuff. You can just resummon. The altar will reappear, as you can see in the footage, and throw in the maps.
This is a great feature.
Bam.
Just sit there and
Again,
boom,
you're fighting
boom,
Dario,
boom.
which is really nice.
Yeah,
no more
for sure.
Exiting the dungeon, resetting the dungeon, running back, and then having to do it over again. This should save up a whole lot of time. This should help a whole lot with farming as well, specifically for gear. And you'll be hearing a lot about all this new gear from Adam here in a second. But there were some additional changes as well to some of the endgame bosses that we do have. Like, for instance, the first one we're going to talk about is the Beast in Ice. The Beast in Ice, of course, required a sigil to actually summon. To actually create the dungeon
they got rid of the
go
sigil
in to
need
fight
for that.
the
Okay,
Beast in Ice.
great.
There's no longer a sigil that will be required. And also the Beast in Ice is now way close to the dungeon. It's going to be a short dungeon crawl similar to the other endgame bosses, so you're not having to go through a lengthy dungeon.
A whole
just
dungeon
for that.
just to get to the boss.
Likewise, no more sigil dust will be required for summoning the Beast in Ice. And then, of course, we thought about internal players in this situation because some of them have actually crafted a bunch of sigils. And now, since sigils are no longer required, you can still use those leftover sigils to immediately resummon the Beast in Ice without needing the mats that are still required for the Beast in Ice. So it's kind of a nice benefit to them. And then, of course, Varshan also got some updates. Varshan required a bunch of different body parts, and now Varshan just requires malignant hearts. And, of course...
Nani? Now just malignant hearts? Wow.
We thought about eternal players in this.
Now, granted, those were the most difficult ones to get at times, but still, that's interesting.
In this specific instance, eternal players can convert their old body parts to hearts by going to the alchemist. That's a magical alchemist. But if you ever need a spare heart, you just go to an alchemist. That's just how it works.
Swap it out.
Yeah, that's just how it works. But yeah, some changes coming to that. And then separately, endgame bosses. For endgame bosses, the boss ladder bosses, they won't be dropping rare items anymore. They're actually just going to drop additional gold, and of course, you'll have your opportunity of getting legendaries and uniques and mythic uniques from them. So,
nice.
But now we just remove the rare
That's a good change.
Drops from them, so it takes up like less of the drop chances that you could get in terms of their specific tables. And then on tormented bosses now drop 5 times as many boss mats as before. And of course, all tormented bosses have a better chance of dropping a mythic unique. So we are boosting up the mythic unique drop.
Nice.
There's actually specifics on all this stuff in the patch notes that people can read afterwards.
Instead of 2.
And we've also reduced the Stygian stone cost for the tormented bosses. Before it was 2. And now it's dropping to 1.
That's good.
So it should help out with players wanting to experiment or try out some of the more difficult endgame bosses that are available, which are their tormented versions. And then one big thing that is happening, and this is something that was kind of mentioned in the blog, but and people will see more specifics in the patch notes. Experience is changing in terms of like the XP bonus from killing higher level monsters. It's no longer capped in. I believe it's now. Well, it's.
I think it used to be 10 levels higher.
Actually,
you didn't get more.
It's still capped, shall I say? It's capped at 30 levels. That's actually incorrect on the slide, but. It used to be 10 levels. It's now 30 levels.
That's a great change, Electric
So, if you happen, for example, if you are a level 50 character and you kill a level 80 monster in Season 4, you would only get level
up
60,
to level 60
experience.
credit, and
now you'll get up to that level 80 experience.
Oh, wow.
So it should help out a lot. If you are willing to go through more challenging content, bam, you get more XP for it, so which is really cool. And it's also really nice that because it plays really well into the stacking profane mind cages, which are now available within Helltide, because that can actually also increase monster level by 30 levels as well. So it's kind of a cool little add-on, you could say, from that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think that's it for general game updates. Yeah, but
so some decent quality of life stuff.
As I talked about a bunch.
Yeah.
It's all in the patch notes. You guys will see the patch notes afterwards.
Yeah, really amazing to have all those changes. Chat was absolutely lighting up with regards to all the changes to the pit, and of course, even though we've shown the boss summoning reset again, they got just as excited. So
awesome to see, and we really appreciate everyone's feedback during PTR and hearing, especially about the.
I like smaller loot tables for specific bosses, but I'd like to be able to get a drop I need from any activity rather than being forced to go farm a single event. I get that. I think target farming would be better if it were done like Diablo 2 or like Marvel Heroes, where you could just do a dungeon crawl, a short dungeon crawl, and fight the boss at the end without having to get summon materials. I think Marvel Heroes did it perfectly. They had the perfect system. If you wanted to farm a Gem of the Cursed, just go run Odin's Palace and run it over and over again. Now, it's a rare drop, and it's not easy to get, but you felt like every few minutes you're having a chance at getting it to drop. Some other things like farming ICP. I mentioned this the other day in a Discord. Farming Industry City Patrol for the spider clones. I really needed the spider clone serum for my Spider-Man endgame build. Well, the only way to get it was to get the spider clone boss wave to spawn an ICP. They didn't spawn very often, but you had a chance to target farm without needing materials to try to bottleneck you or gate you, right? So I'm with you. I get that. I love target farming for ideas. It's one of my favorite things, and that's Electrogasms. You'll appreciate this. That's coming up from farming Flowing Black Silk Sash and and farming specific enemies for Lamentations, or going into lower Guck to try to farm Golden Afridi boots. Right? Short sword of the Akisha. Right? Growing up, being able to target farm items, I have a soft spot in my heart for target farming mechanics. But all these games I've mentioned, EverQuest, Diablo 2, Marvel Heroes, what made them different is there were no bottlenecks in summoning materials or if anything to gate you, right? I think that's where it gets to be a little tedious. So I'm not sold on their system of doing it, but I do love target farming in a pure sense. So I can see why folks would want it back. Right, Martine, exactly. Hey, no problem, man, no problem. Even with WoW, you go into a dungeon and most of the mobs had a loot table that just included the items you want, except for the uniques. Yeah, and I was never a fan of the way WoW did it. That's just me. Not saying it's right or wrong. I always felt like the loot tables in games like WoW are just watered down. It doesn't feel impactful to get to the end of a dungeon and fight a boss and feel like, ooh, maybe he'll drop that one super ooper sword I really need that only he drops. But again, the system obviously works because WoW is a very popular game and it has lasted for 20 years. So they know what they're doing. I'm not saying the system is wrong. It's just not my personal preference, right? That's all. So
Helltide stuff, and we totally hear you guys, and we want to make sure that people got to experience, still enjoy Helltide to the fullest. Yeah. you know what I mean. But
Exactly. No, it's really cool to
I
see
talk too
those.
much.
Yeah, those profane mind cages coming back. But yeah, Adam, thank you so much for that.
Right, there you go,
and now,
Electric Asmus. There
everyone,
you go.
Hope you're comfortable because we got a ton to go over with regards to.
It's funny you mentioned that because I always found it fascinating that me being wrong doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the game. It's funny how that works. I can almost embrace being wrong, and you can do nothing about it. The system is not very player friendly. It is engagement friendly. The optimized to keep you subscribed. Yeah, right. That no doubt. There's a reason they do it that way. Unsubscribe.
Updates, uniques, some bugs fixes, and a ton of class balance
updates,
changes. Who better to walk us through, Mr. Adam Jackson?
Yeah, let's do it. So we got a lot to talk about today. I'll try and go as quickly as possible. So yeah, firstly, thank you all for your feedback and comments. We got a lot of class-related feedback on the PTR, a lot of balance feedback, a lot of just how it feels to play things. And we actually reacted pretty heavily and did a lot of changes between PTR and Season 5 launch. Some of which I think some people know, and some things are going to be new for you today. So really, yeah, we have a lot of things that changed. In many ways, honestly, it's going to feel like almost from a balance perspective and kind of what your class can do in your journey, it's going to feel almost like a very different game compared to what you experienced on the PTR. I'm going to go through a lot of like the systemic.
Okay, he's got my attention because the PTR didn't feel really good, right? He said it's going to almost feel like an entirely different game. I know he's not talking about in like the base foundation of the game, but as far as like your feel and enjoyment of it, you got my attention, Adam.
Reasons why, and then some specific things that we did to every class, as well as, of course, updating all of our uniques and kind of the impact that you can expect from that. So lots to talk about. So first, we're going to be talking about bug fixes. We've got quite a few to go through that I think are pretty notable. Again, we're going to be doing the class balance updates after that, and then the unique changes. So those will be the three things I'm going to be covering today. So firstly, as usual, we're going to be publishing the patch notes right after this, so you can read all of them. I'm not going to cover everything today, but just some of the more notable ones. So first is one on the Necromancer that we've heard about for a while now. It's a Shielding Storm.
I'm going to skip past the bug fixes, the bug changes. And we'll go to, let's start with the class balancing, because I do want to see the class balancing and the uniques. The bug fixes, we can read about that. That's not something that they really need to expand on, at least for me. So let's take a look at the class balances and the update and the uniques.
Next, we're going to be talking about some generic class balance updates. So kind of...
Okay, as a barb player... Yeah, Foo skips over the necro. I know. As a barb enjoyer here, I agree. Something needed to be done, and it not necessarily nerf the barbs, but something needed to be done to bring the other classes in line. That needed to happen. Let's see what they knew. As we all know, yeah, it's true, right? I'm a barb main and stopped on the barb. I knew it, right, Fame? Right? Nerf the barbs. Hush, Voltan.
To set you up, a high-level theme that we're going to see in our feedback from PTR was barbarians are really, really good, and every other class is kind of a little bit weak, it feels like, compared to barbarians. So we did a lot of things to address this. So first, I want to go into detail a little bit of how we feel about barbarians and where they're at and what we want to do. We feel like one of the bigger reasons why barbarians are so strong is that they kind of have two class mechanics compared to other classes, right? They have the expertise system, which is like a normal class mechanic where, they have this fantasy of leveling up their weapons and then they get bonuses. But then they also get more item slots compared to other classes, so they get more access to more legendary powers. As far as how we tackle this, we don't want our only solution to be to nerf barbarians, right?
Right,
like a common thing that we hear is like, hey, they have more item slots. Maybe you should just get rid of the item slots so that everybody has parity, right? Like, that is a way to make parity, but, it takes away from their theme of being a master of weapons.
I agree, and I think he's going down the road that you're on, Electric Asms. We'll see, but I agree.
And it's not very fun. So that's not the only thing that we want to do in this situation. The other thing is that we want to keep their class identity, right? Another common suggestion we hear is, well, just give all the other classes more item slots so that they're the same as Barbarian.
That doesn't
right?
work either.
And
Yeah.
similarly, kind of like how Necromancers have minions, we don't want to give every class minions just because, you know, they don't have access to the cool thing that Necromancers do. We don't want to just give every class, you know, more slots so that they're exactly the same as Barbarian.
Right.
We want to really try and keep what makes them feel special as a special thing and find other ways to kind of bring parity to the classes. So here's kind of our strategy of what we're thinking of with Barbarians. We have a few different things that we're going to be doing. One is we're actually going to be adjusting how much damage all the classes get from their core stat. And this is going to bring other classes up to the level of Barbarian. I'm going to be going over that in a little bit. We are going to be reducing the power of Barbarians as part of our solution. But again, I want to point out it's not the only thing that we want to do. And then we also want to target the other class mechanics and really bring them up to the level of the Barbarian effectively having to, and making the other classes feel cool in the way that makes them thematic and awesome. We already actually experimented with this in Season 4. This was an intentional thing that we did, and we wanted to see how it went with the Necromancer. If you remember, we buffed minions very heavily, and we also buffed...
Yeah, you necro enjoyers, man. You had your day to shine in the sun last season. Hopefully you'll still be able to shine going forward, and they can bring up druids and sorks and rogues with it, you know?
Off the Book of the Dead, their class mechanic very heavily. Not just numbers, but also in the cool factor, right? You have mechanics like, you know, your minions can throw bone spears, or, you know, your golem can do bone spikes everywhere and make enemies vulnerable. We want to do this kind of treatment to the other class mechanics. Just to be clear, we're going to be probably doing this after the Vessel of Hatred expansion launches, so it'll be a little bit. So we are doing some things in the meantime to catch them up, but you can expect in the future we're going to be doing kind of a big overhaul to the other classes similarly to the Book of the Dead, and so their cool factor and their power level is going to be going up. So let's talk about that core stat update that I talked about previously.
Man.
So basically what we're doing here is we're going to be changing the amount of damage that every class gets from
Thank you, Dora. Tridine. Thank you for the bits. Well done. By the way, for those of you who weren't here earlier and didn't hear, the three weirdo leaderboard winners for July were Tridine, DJ Wolf Dude, and Voltan, and they each got their own triggered command that they can do. I'll show them for you right now. I'll do a free trigger of each one so you guys can see what they chose. They each get to pick for the entire month a GIF and a blurb soundbite that they can play. Yep. So here we go. Here's Tridine's.
Wile E. Coyote, super genius. I like the way that rolls out.
There's Tridine's. Here's DJ's. And Voltan's.
Oh, well, who wants to live forever?
So there you go. There you go. Fun little thing that people will get. That's in addition. If you've got a tier 2 or tier 3 sub notification, that's a separate intro that you get to do separately. So they'll get to keep that for the entire month of August. And then the winners at the end of August, the top 3 winners will get the same thing. You'll get to choose a blurb sound and a GIF. And it'll be your command for the entire month of September. And we'll go on like that. Every month we'll reset and have new winners. So, yep.
Their core stat. So if you didn't know, on live right now, when you log into the game, you get about 1% more damage per 10 stat of your class.
Right.
So as an example, you know, the I don't know, pick one. The sorceress, you know, with intelligence, you would have 10 int, and then you would get 1% more damage. If you had 100 int, you'd have 10% more damage, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's going to actually depend on the class what that ratio is of how much damage you get per your core stat. So the Barbarian is going to be staying exactly the same.
Oh, look at that,
1% more damage per 10 strength. The Rogue is going to get a little bit of a buff here because they do have a little bit more slots compared to other classes. So they're going to be getting 1% more damage per 9 dex. And then the other 3 classes, the Sorceress, Druid, and Necromancer, are going to be getting 1% more damage per 8 core stat.
Okay. I want to pause this for a minute because I think this is important to expound upon. You look at this change, okay? We all agree something needed to be done, okay? I want you to remember what I'm saying now so that when we get a week or 2 weeks into the league, and all right, stop being a grumpy old man for a minute, Electricasms, and just hear me out. Barred prejudice, I know, right? They're making an effort, okay? So, does that mean this is going to be perfect? There's no way to know until we play and we get thousands and thousands of people into the end game, farming and grinding and pushing in-game content. There's no way to really know this right now, okay? So be patient. I'm sure this is something that can be adjusted even more, right? There are also other things they can do. Just keep that in mind. This is something that they're doing, but it's something that could be changed and probably will need to be changed, maybe, you know? So just keep that in mind. Just because they're doing this now, it doesn't mean that's going to be it and they're done, right? No, grumpy old man. Believe me, I get it. I get it. I do my share of being grumpy old man. I get it. So, but it's a start. It's a start. We'll see.
So, without doing a lot of math, the TLDR here is barbarians are staying the same. Rogues are going to get a bit of a bump, a bit of a buff, and the other three classes are going to get even more damage. So as you get that core stat, which you get very commonly, in Gear and Paragon and other places, you're just going to be doing more damage. It's just a passive way that we're going to be catching up the classes stat-wise. So next, let's move on to kind of our class updates. So
here we go, guys.
All the different classes.
This is another way they can make changes to enhance the other classes through itemization, right? So maybe we'll see some things here as well to go along with the core stat changes. We'll see.
And talking about kind of what our updates are going to be for them. Some of the things you can expect that are different from PTR to launch. So Barbarian, currently Barbarians, in addition to having more item slots, have some of the best key passives in the game, like in Season 4 and on Live. One of the very main ways that we're targeting bringing them down is reducing the power level so that really their key passives are comparable to other classes. We on the team felt like, they already have all these other things that are really strong going for them. They don't need like overly statted, way powerful key passives that do like, over 100% multiplicative damage when the other classes are doing way less. So you did see that on the PTR. We did see a lot of feedback on like, why are we bringing down Walking Arsenal to have parity when, it wasn't even really meta compared to the other key passives. And I just kind of wanted to bring some light to this of how we think about it. The reason why we brought Walking Arsenal to be level with the other ones when we brought them to be equal to other classes is that, we want all the key passes on Barbarian to have parity with each other. If we just brought down the other key passives that were way overperforming and didn't bring Walking Arsenal down to be even with them, then really Walking Arsenal is just going to be the best mandatory pick and every Barbarian build is going to have to interact.
I agree with that. That's something that people don't quite understand at times. When they're making these changes, they have to keep in mind, or ideally you want to keep in mind, if we've got 4 or 5 different options of a certain skill set, you don't want one of them to be the most obvious choice and everybody. That happens a lot in a lot of games where this particular thing is the prime optimum. It's just a no-brainer. Just go with that, right? You want to try to avoid that if possible. It's tough. It's not easy, but that's good if they can accomplish that
with this system. And we really wanted them to be equal with each other so that, there's actually a choice when you get to your key passive of which one to take. So I just wanted to clarify that of, what our thinking was there. But, it's not all doom and gloom for Barbarians. We did hear feedback of like, man, it really sucks. I understand that they're being brought down and it's fair, but, we want to have some things to look forward to. So we did introduce a number of buffs
going to be worthwhile now?
PTR and Live so that you have some things to look forward to.
Hoda build might be good again.
Your, underperforming builds are not being brought down as well. So I'm going to give a couple of examples here. One is Hammer of the Ancients. We increased its damage baseline by 10%. And we also adjusted the of Ancestral Force legendary. One of the troubling things that this build has problems with is like single target damage against bosses and things. It does really good in AoE and brings down enemies, but its single target's a little bit lacking. So we're upgrading this legendary power, so now it's going to be doing more damage against bosses, so it'll kind of help you with that single target issue.
That's cool. Okay.
Another one is Upheaval. Upheaval builds can rejoice, and also a little bit of a preview of kind of how we're changing uniques, which I'll be going over a lot more later. But we're increasing Upheaval damage by about 15%, and we also rounded out Hellhammer now. It's quite a bit more powerful. I can point out a bunch of things here of how it's better. Oh my
goodness.
You can see it gives more skill ranks of Upheaval compared to before. The damage of its burning on the ground, just baseline.
Yes, I agree, Electrigasms. I hope we get to that point. I hope we get to that point where it's like, pick your poison based on your play style, basically. Now, this is a sneak peek at what's coming with the uniques. +2 to Wallop. So they're adding ranks of Wallop to the Hellhammer. Okay, not to mention the damage increase on it. Okay, they're adding raw strength to it. They're getting rid of the two-handed damage. Okay, all right. Interesting. Okay.
Went up. It also has scaling on the burning damage. So, before the burning damage wasn't really a meaningful part of the unique. One of the things you're going to see with uniques across the board is that they're going to be a lot more about the thematic of what the unique is, and that's where their power is going to be. So here, the Burning Ground actually will scale with your strength at a pretty significant degree. So, it'll actually be doing meaningful damage, hopefully. You can also see its inherent affix now is damage to burning enemies instead of overpower damage. So it's going with that theme of Hellhammer burning the ground. It's also giving you skill ranks of Wall Up, a passive, so that's more multiplicative damage.
Yes.
You also get Upheaval
That's
size,
massive.
so now your burning ground and your Upheaval is going to be bigger. So there's just all kinds of new things going on. It's going to be a lot cooler, a lot more powerful, and hopefully a lot more fun.
Yeah, Hellhammer looks absolutely insane.
Yeah, and 300 strength also, by the way, no big deal.
300 strength.
Yeah, that strength is kind of nice.
No big deal.
It's going to be pretty good. So next, a Sorceress. We got a whole lot of feedback.
300 strength, that's 30% DPS increase. Now, that's a 30% increase additively, right? So you get to a certain point that's going to be kind of, I think that's additive. I don't think it's multiplicative. No, yeah, it has to be additive because strength, damage from core stat has to be additive. Otherwise, it would get out of hand quickly. Poor Sorks. Well, let's see.
That, the Sorceress isn't powerful enough compared to other classes.
We got so much. I'm going to stop us right here. We got so much feedback about the Sorceress.
Just a little bit. And the Druid.
And the Druid.
And the other
and the Necromancer.
Poor Druid.
We hear you
Poor
guys.
Druid.
We
Poor
absolutely
Sorks.
do. Yeah. Okay, now you may continue.
Okay. So, for the Sorcerer specifically, we heard feedback that they're not powerful enough. So we did quite a few things to address it. Firstly, they've got a lot of large buffs to their uniques. I would say even more than other classes. Your uniques are going to feel really good, is the hope, and I think we've hit it.
Okay.
I'll be going over some of them a little bit later. We also buffed all of their core and mastery skills by about 15 to 20%. So just baseline. Remember, this is in addition to the core stat buff. All of your core and mastery skills are also getting buffed baseline by a pretty significant degree.
Yeah,
so you're just
same
going to
here.
get harder. We also did multiple defensive buffs. We heard a lot of feedback that they have trouble surviving in situations that the other classes could kind of get away with.
I'm sorry, guys. I need some water. Give me just a second. I'll be right back. Gatorade. Was Barb Necro Rogue this season? Planned already to go Druid plus Sork in season 5. There you go. Sounds like some stuff coming. Look at this. Okay.
With these are some examples.
Buffed
we did more than this,
core
but Ice
and
Armor, your
mastery
base shield amount is
skills.
going up from 40%
Wow.
to 56% of your max life. Snow Veiled aspect, this one was updated from PTR to launch. So on PTR, it was that your Ice Armor gave you Unstoppable and gave you armor. And on launch, you're still going to get Unstoppable, but you're going to get damage reduction, which, anyone who knows how the defenses within this game work is way more significant than just getting armor.
Yeah, when you hit that armor cap, it's kind of like...
Yeah, you just want to gobble up DR like Pac-Man as much as you can get, the more the better, and this is going to give you...
Yeah, the DR is going to be huge. Very big.
Also, we did multiple buffs to the Paragon board. Again, this is not covering everything. But one of
top right corner. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes, indeed. That's what you guys were talking about. I didn't get the reference. Thank you, Voltan. Add to the timer there. Yeah, would it be better to have the camera in the top right? Sure, I can do that. I can do that. Let's see. Gatorade. That's funny. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that'll be better. Good.
One of the things is that, we put a lot of caps to make sure that some Paragon nodes just didn't go out of control compared to everything else, but we heard feedback that, those caps were a little bit too punishing, so we increased them. An example here is Burning Instinct, where, on
burning
PTR,
damage based on critical strike now is at caps at 80%.
And we increased that up to 80%. So now your burning damage, that's based on your crit strike multiplier, is going to be going up. Your total amount is going to go up, but then also the rate that you get it. It used to be 1% per 50 int, now it's 1% per 20 int. So you'll be getting more efficient,
pretty significant.
bang for your buck for your int, and a total cap that's much higher. So Druid, similar to Sorceress, surprise, surprise, got a lot of feedback that it's not powerful enough compared to the Barbarian or other classes.
Well, that's true.
So we've got a lot of multiple quality of life and damage buffs coming in. Again, these are just some examples. Also, you got to remember the uniques are going to be coming in as well. Boulder damage went up. We increased the damage across the board of their core skills mostly, and we missed boulders, so we're increasing their damage a bit. We also got a lot of feedback that we came out with this really cool unique for Cataclysm that made the lightning bolts smart and target enemies, and then a lot of people were like, "Hey, why does it have to get a unique to make my skill be smart?" And we agreed, so we just made the skill smart baseline. So now those lightning bolts from the ultimate will just target enemies. Perfect Storm, the Storm key passive is getting its damage boosted from 30 to 40%. Seismic Shift, this was an aspect that we think is really cool where your Earth Spike kind of goes in a line and does a bunch of Earth Spikes. Used to have a Kiss Curse mechanic and it no longer does. So before it used to give you this big bonus of way more resource reduction gen and more damage on it, but it added a cooldown, and now it just doesn't add a cooldown, so you can spam it and cast a bunch of Earth Spikes.
Oh, there you go.
Should be a lot more fun.
Druid Electric Acid
also
build
similar
confirmed.
to the Sorceress, we're buffing their little bonus cap on their legendary Paragon nodes. So an example here, they went from 40 to 60%. So you've got Thunderstruck, Earthen Devastation, and Survival Instincts. We've got a little visual there at the bottom node, but you can see that top end of the damage is now 60%, so it's going to be better than PTR. Also, we came out with that new unique I mentioned for Cataclysm. It used to be on the gloves on PTR, which a lot of people, which we agreed with, it kind of felt bad that, you've got the two Storm-related uniques on the same slot, and you can't take them together. It was competing with Unsun Aesthetics Wraps. This was the Lightning Storm unique. But now it's going to be on the range slot, so now you can take them both together, so they're not competing with each other anymore. Next is the Rogue. So to be frank, the Rogue we feel like it's in a pretty good spot, so we didn't do as many changes compared to other classes. We did still do a few that I'll mention today, but they got the least changes. The first one is Flurry. So as you know, if you played the PTR, Flurry got some pretty dramatic updates, right? Both of their enhancement and both of their choices that you could pick on the base skill got changed and made a lot better. We saw that, a lot of the output of Flurry was related to doing the mechanics that the enhancement and the advanced Flurry were requiring you to do, like casting it a bunch of times in a row and stuff like that. And we wanted to move some of that damage from those enhancements and things into the base skill. So the enhancement and the advanced Flurry are still going to be pretty potent, but we lowered their damage and instead just juiced the base skill even more. And what this is going to mean is really just that you're going to be more consistently doing that damage, and you're going to be less reliant on doing the stacking mechanics to get it. Next, Wind Force. This one has had a troubled history of just trying to find ways to make it really good and useful. Instead of knocking back enemies when it procs, it's going to knock them down now. So you no longer have to worry about like knocking enemies out of your CC.
That's
or you want them to be grouped up next to you, and then you're just knocking one of them or a few of them away. Yeah. Now they're just going to go in place. We have a before and after here. Again, a little preview of what we're doing with our uniques. But yeah, Wind Force, you can see some of the things here as a preview. It's going to give you move speed baseline, which is pretty interesting as a stat on a...
So I've never played this particular rogue build using Wind Force. I don't know. I'm assuming that's good. And they changed from Impetus and Concussive to Barrage and Malice. I'm guessing that's going to be good for that particular build, but that's some significant changes for sure.
You've got chance for double projectiles for your barrage. You've got a couple passive upgrades there. And then as you can see, the damage went up, but also now it knocks down enemies instead of knocks them back. Last but not least, the Necromancer. We've been hearing a lot of feedback that Blood Necromancer players are a little sad. They just aren't really catching up to the other versions of Necromancer. So we've buffed up a bunch of their tempering recipes and the damage on them. We're also buffing their legendary Paragon nodes. Here's some here that we
I'm
did.
Surprised that's the first time we've heard about buffing tempering recipes, because I guess maybe that's a lazy way to... some people would think that would be a lazy way to boost a character's power, but it's a significant thing. You could target specific class themed tempers and boost those. That's just one option.
Just makes your overpower damage go up. It's being doubled from 35% to 70%, so that's pretty meaty. Blood begets blood. That damage bonus when you're picking up blood orbs is being doubled, and the maximum amount is being doubled, so you're getting more per stack, and you need less stacks to get to your max damage. So pretty good there.
Targets a class build,
and
yeah, for sure.
Lucky Hit. We've heard a lot of feedback from Necromancer players that they kind of rely a lot on the Miasma Corpse Explosion to get their Lucky Hit procs off, and that their other skills don't really compete, and so they can't really have fun with Lucky Hit-based builds, more generally. So we just buffed Lucky Hit on a bunch of different skills, so you can see there what all the numbers are. Again, those will be on the patch notes, but really they're just going to be Lucky Hitting more often and getting cool procs more. All right, so next, let's
Here
talk
we go,
about
guys.
Uniques a little bit, right?
I'm super excited about that.
This will be interesting.
So, as we promised, in the PTR stream, we said that, we had this kind of different philosophy when it comes to uniques, and we went into detail there. And we updated our uniques coming into Season 5, but we didn't update all...
So, the way I look at Lucky Hit, imagine in EverQuest when you would have... Okay, I'll use a specific item in EverQuest. Short Sword of the Acacia. Now, there are bazillions of weapons in EverQuest that have procs, right? So anytime you had a weapon with a proc, it would only go off a certain amount of times, right? Sometimes you could scale it based on your attack speed, but you were limited, right? Procs in EverQuest could only go off a certain amount of times per minute. That's the way the system was set up. Why am I talking about procs in EverQuest? Because, oh my goodness. Fox, thank you, buddy, for the 84 months. 84 months. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. The reason I brought up procs is because I look at Lucky Hit. Lucky Hit in Diablo is basically procs in EverQuest, but something that you can control. To an extent, you can increase your chance by increasing your Lucky Hit chance. So think of them as being procs that you have some agency over. Now, Martine, yes, I can give you a quick elevator pitch. So, they've improved. They increased the amount of mobs and the rewards in the new mode, Infernal Hordes, made it feel more meaty, kind of like what they did with Helltides. They changed some things, they've tweaked some things based on the PTR. The Infernal Hordes, which is the event, we kind of talked about that a little bit, but I'm trying to just go quick. There's a new dungeon called Hell Breach Dungeons, which you'll go through this dungeon, and they're going to be really packed mob density of dungeons. You get to the end, and you'll have a choice between two different affixes or bonuses. One good thing and one bad thing, and you can choose, and that'll affect what the bosses can do. Something kind of like Torchlight Infinite, when you'd get the Hunter things at the end and you get to pick one, kind of like that a little bit. They've made a bunch of general game changes, lowered the cost of tortured gifts in World Tier 3. They've lowered the cost of summoning Varshan to only be in the Malignant Hearts. They've gotten rid of the need to use sigils to summon the Beast in the Heart, the Beast in the Ice. Oh my goodness, Keg. Thank you for the gifted sub. And Penguin Powered, welcome back to the Foo Sub Club, my friend. Thank you, Kegliestro. Appreciate it. And picking the negative increases chances of good drop. Right. Something like that. Exactly. That'll affect your loot because you get this currency. I forget what it's called, but then you can use it to open chests at the end. Right. They've modified a bunch of the game. They got rid of the need to use sigils to summon the Beast in the Ice. I said that. They lowered the amount of damage that pit bosses do. In Season 4, it was you'd go through and you're fighting the pits, you're rolling through a pit level, and then you get to the boss and he one-shots you. They're making the pit boss damage kind of more in line with the level of that pit run. Then we talked about some PTR bug fixes, and we talked about general class balances. TLDR, they're going to nerf barbarians a little bit, but they really want to focus more on increasing the effectiveness and DPS of the other classes. Okay? So, that's good. And then we're just getting to uniques, so I can't give you too much about uniques yet, but the idea is... uniques are being completely revamped. Oh my goodness! Yes, indeed. Evoin, thank you so much, my man, with that 86 months. Thank you for that 86 months of insane support. I appreciate you, buddy. And that adds more time to our timer, guys. There we go. Was tired of Nurse instead of feeling like a... Right. I'd say the change to only Malignant Hearts was less of a cost lowering and more of a consolidation. Right. I was saying the same thing earlier, Tridine. It really feels like... That's probably what it was, because you're right. That was the most unique item to get, was the Malignant Hearts. The little problem with the way Lucky Hit was implemented is that there are 8 or 9 different Lucky Hit that can roll with the loot table item. Yeah, I get that. I can see that. Maybe there's just too much going on for Lucky Hit to be really targeted. So yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Avoin. Appreciate it. Avoin, Keg, thank you for the gifted sub. Fox, thank you for the resub. You guys are awesome. We are up to almost 11 hours now, guys, on our... I keep pointing up over there like it's over there. Almost 11 hours now on our subathon timer.
All of our existing uniques.
All right, so let's see what changes are coming to uniques. Should be a lot.
We've updated nearly every unique in the game, and I'm going to do a little bit of a recap of kind of how we thought, and then giving you some examples of what we did. So these updates are fairly dramatic. We're going to be showing you 3 from each class, as well as 3 generic ones, to give you a really meaty idea of the different categories and ways that we thought of updating uniques, and kind of what you can expect for your builds.
Yeah, and I know, and Marcus is going to remind us about this at the end as well. But
you'll be hearing it a lot.
Yeah, but I will say, we are showing 3 here and 3 for every class and 3 generic ones. But every single unique is actually in the patch notes.
Yeah.
And we have a before and after in the patch notes, so you guys will have easy access. And
you can easily compare the two and see what was the difference.
So after the stream, you'll be able to compare. And so we're just only covering a small amount here. We'll see everything.
Just a little sample serving. The patch notes are absolutely massive, so you'll have a lot to
That'd be pretty
lots
cool
to snack on there.
Yeah.
So one of the things is your general power level of unique effects is up, and by unique effects, I want to be clear, that is like the thing at the bottom that is like deals 40 to 60% more multiplicative damage or whatever. That number is going to be up on the higher end. So instead of 40 to 60, it'll be 40 to 80 or 40 to 90 or 40 to whatever, right? So that power level is just going to be generally up almost across the board. And then really what we targeted for these updates is the stats on the uniques. So the stats are going to pretty much break every rule that we had in the game before when it comes to being a cool item. So some things that you're going to see, and I think I got an example of most of, if not all of these, but you're going to see uniques that have different inherents compared to other stats. So, your boot inherent, could be something.
This is something that I think a lot of developers miss the mark on when they are talking about creating unique items, and I think they're finally getting the idea here in Diablo. A unique item should be that, right? Be unique. It shouldn't be just a more powerful item that uses stats that you see on other items, right? I like what they're saying here. First of all, more inherent stats. Different inherent stats, meaning stats that you don't normally see on items of that slot. That's good. To give you an example, okay? Just to give you an example, in Diablo 3, do you guys remember the Witching Hour? Why it was so good? Because it was the only belt that you could get crit damage on. That was massive. Now it ended up falling off later on in the life of the game. It wasn't necessarily that big of a deal. But for a while there, that was like best in slot. Right now, again, you want to avoid to where everybody wants one particular item. We talked about that already. But if you do enough variety of uniques, in general, uniques should be unique, right? And attack speed, did it have attack speed? It may have. I remember the crit damage. It may have had, I don't remember the attack speed, but it may have. But yeah, that's something. And this can have tempering affixes now. That was an issue before because they couldn't have a tempering. So. Reed 23, thank you for the sub over there on YouTube. Appreciate it. Yeah. Hey, Martine, thank you for the lurk, buddy. Appreciate it. All right. So, yeah, let's see what else they have to say. Yeah, without tempering, none of the uniques were worth... Right. They really weren't.
Something that's not even related to boots or movement anymore. It could be something else. Or sometimes we add more inherent stats. So something that didn't exist before, some items can have 2 inherents instead of just 1, which is a pretty big difference. We have... a lot more that have stats that break normal slot rules. So, things like movement speed on bows or cooldown reduction on weapons, stuff like that. Uniques also can now have tempering affixes, right? None of them really did this in Season 4, but now that tempering's in the game and uniques have to compete with these really great tempered items, uniques can have that too. They can also have much higher potential stat values compared to normal items. So, if a normal item has 20 to 40% more damage, a unique can be like, 1 to 300% more damage or whatever, right? And we even do this with the tempered affixes. So unique can have juiced up versions of tempered affixes that make them solve those problems much quicker. Also, we've introduced a lot of stats that really have powerful effects on them. Sometimes even a single stat on a unique can have the impact that a legendary power normally would on an item as far as what it does to a build. And we'll have a couple examples of that where like a stat on an item is actually giving you a new effect that didn't exist before that you could do.
That's interesting.
That's awesome. So again, we're going to be going through 3 examples per class and 3 generics, and I'm going to just try and quickly go through and kind of point out some of the key things that are kind of neat about the items. So we're going to shotgun this a little bit, and you're going to see some cool items. So let's get to it. Woo. Yeah, so first, Penitent Greaves. This is a generic unique. You can see here, this one now has 2 inherents as opposed to 1. Another thing that you can notice is that normally, the evade grants more move speed is only for 1 second, and this one is not only has 2 inherents, but it's for 2 seconds.
Okay.
So you'll evade and boost around at crazy sonic speed for a couple seconds, which is pretty neat. And now you can run through enemies while you do it. We've also got some neat stats there, like crit chance against chilled enemies and chill potency there that are new to the game. Here, Fists of Fate, this one a lot of people saw a little bit early, and they were very happy about. So one thing I think that's kind of cool is that with our uniques, we're really trying to double and triple down on the fantasy of the item. So, if something's about cold or something here, like Fist of Fate is about RNG to the max. So we're really going hard on what the theme is. So here you can see your attack speed can go
Lucky
from 0.1
hit
to
chance.
8.7,
Look at that.
and everything on it is has a huge range of what you can roll. So a greater affixed Fist of Fate could be a best in slot item for a lot of builds.
Look at that.
The lucky hit chance on this.
Yes, this is the one that people point out that we.
It's just crazy.
I talked with one of the people on our team. I want to shout out Alex on our team who did a lot of this work, and we had a choice here. We're are we gonna go crazy or go conservative? Let's just go crazy. This might be insane. It might actually be best in slot and break stuff, but it's really cool. So, yeah, greater affixed Fist of Fate there is going to be really cool. Next, the Grandfather, mythic unique example here. A lot of people had issues with the ignored durability loss.
Hey, DJ.
Where you would masterwork hit that or something, and then you're not getting anything. We just moved that in to be a baseline inherent affix now, so you don't have to worry about that, and then replaced it with something useful with a max resource.
And I will note, even in Season 4, because that durability loss was kind of,
So, I started to change. This is cool, man. Plus 150% damage. My goodness. The Grandfather was already pretty solid, but plus 300%. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's an item there.
Actually hidden.
Welcome back home, D. Holt.
Sometimes
it was already great.
A greater affixed version of a Grandfather.
Yeah.
It would actually apply to that. That is now.
Yeah, that's all gone. It's just inherents can't be greater, which is something that we thought of a lot with this. So. Yeah, so now let's go into the classes. Barbarian, this is Battle Trance. This one exists already on live. Probably the two big things here. One is, you have 2 different passives now that you get. A lot of times we're adding skill ranks to passives.
Frenzy and
way to add
Duelist.
multiplicative damage, or just buffs to really cool effects on a unique via their stats.
I guess not. Not really. I guess, I don't know. It was probably good, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. But it's definitely going to be way better now. Oh, sorry to hear that, D. Holt.
The other thing to point out here is the actual effect. Before, it was giving you increased attack speed to all of your other skills when you had frenzy stacks. Now you're going to be getting damage and attack speed. We heard a lot of feedback from players that they would hit attack speed cap, and then this unique wasn't really doing very much for them. So now you're also just going to get damage in addition to making it easier to hit that cap for your other skills. So it's just, more stats, stronger. Next, Reign of the Ravenous. A couple things here. One is it's giving you skill ranks of Rend, which is pretty significant. And remember,
Rend
that
is
2 to 3 might not seem so significant, but when you greater affix that and then masterwork it, your potential of more damage on this goes up very significantly. We're also giving you skill ranks to brawling skills still. Thing to point out here is your Rend's duration. This will also just increase the throughput damage of it, has been doubled, so that's just more damage on Rend in addition to the skill ranks. And then also at the bottom, a small little detail, but before you could only apply that special effect of your brawling skills, applying your Rend's Bleed every 4 seconds, and now it's every second.
Every second.
So now if you're able to spam brawling skills, you're just going to be applying Rend Bleeds to enemies and stronger Rend Bleeds like crazy. So
yeah, I'll have to take your word on that, Electric Asms, because I have no idea because I've never gotten one. But I believe you. I just had no experience with it, so I couldn't really answer that.
It's a pretty big power boost. Next, the Fields of Crimson. The thing I really want to call out here, there's a lot of things that are kind of unique and different, but is that one kind of rule that we had with item stats that we're now...
Plus 454% damage to bleeding enemies? Oh my goodness. While using this weapon... damage. Holy cow. That That weapon just got really strong. Plus, with the added inherent strength to it now, the rupture size so that you're bleeding more enemies in an area. Ooh, buddy. This weapon could be really good.
Changing and breaking is we never really buffed things like enhancements or like the AB, like the different choice upgrades that you could do for a skill. This one actually buffs enhanced ruptures explosion size. So, normally when you rupture an enemy, it does that explosion. This will make that explosion be way bigger. So it's kind of a neat way that we can manipulate player power via stats. Next, let's move on to the Sorceress. So the Staff of Endless Rage. We actually have a combo here that we're going to show a little video of a before and after with this. Fireball builds. The Staff now does some, and the gloves would be doing some unique things to fireballs.
Oh my goodness.
One is plus
some of these unique
projectile speed.
59%
so this is actually going to make your fireballs fly through the air faster
twice.
or bounce quicker. And so you'll be able to get through them and they'll finish their path faster. You've got the tempering recipe now, so it doesn't compete with your chance to cast twice. And you can see there, it goes up to 75% just on that one stat. So it basically almost solves it for you by itself, which is pretty huge. You've got some massive skill ranks to Fireball, so now, again, way more multiplicative damage than before. And then, you can see at the bottom that the upper end of that damage is going up.
Yeah, that's
for
ridiculous,
same as most
man.
Of our uniques.
This is good stuff.
Next is combos with the Gloves of the Illuminator. A couple things to kind of gloat on here is the Fireball attack speed is going up by a much bigger amount than other classes. Or than normal attack speed, on other slots. Also, you get mana when Fireball explodes. I played with this build, and I think it was Season 1, and I constantly ran into mana issues because you always want to spam this as much as you can. So when you think of this stat, you can greater this, you can
and they gave you attack speed, so you need the mana recoup.
You combine this with the attack speed here, and then you combine it with the projectile speed.
Right.
Yeah, and you get a lot more fireballs. Remember, it's every time that it explodes, which when it bounces, it's exploding.
Yeah.
And when you're splitting and getting more from multiple projectiles, you're getting more bounce explosions.
So you're
it's
getting
you a resource engine.
Yeah. You're essentially a
That's
fireball
crazy,
machine
man.
Yeah. So we've got a little bit.
I might have to do a sorcerer fireball build. Oh my goodness. Yeah, up to 5% chance. Yeah, and that's again, that's if we go back to talking about the proc, 5% just isn't. It's inconsequential for something like restoring mana, Yeah.
Bit of a Season 4 to Season 5 comparison here of what it looks like. A little video. So in Season 4, you can see, every third cast gives you 3. But Season 5, you're going to randomly get 3, and then sometimes even more when it combines with the double projectile bonus. So you can actually really fill up your screen with fireballs everywhere. And every one of those bounces is giving you mana back to cast more.
That's ludicrous.
So it's pretty cool.
That's going to be a fun build.
Next, we've got Blue Rose. Probably the cool thing to point out here is there's a chance for ice spikes to explode twice. So this is also something that we haven't really done.
Cold
we
damage.
We call them sub powers
Look
internally.
at the ice spike
these things
damage
like
on
dust
that
levels
thing.
or ice spikes that are like powers that generate when you cast a skill that are usually through legendaries or uniques. We generally don't manipulate them too heavily like this, but we're going to be experimenting more with that in unique stat affixes. So here, your ice spikes can actually like double proc, so they get double explode.
Look at the cold damage on that. Crit strike chance. That ice spike damage is silly. And then pretty much every third proc ice spikes are going to explode twice. And then a 30% lucky hit chance for exploding spike. Cold damage triple this chance if the enemy is froze up. Yeah. See, okay, this is they have really gone hardcore on this. I like it.
Explosions, and then any other things that would proc off that would be doubled, which is
it really does.
Next, let's move on to the Druid.
All right, here we go, Druids. You paying attention? Let's see.
So Waxing Gibbous, this is the Shred Druid unique. So what we did here that I want to point out,
+4 to Shred
in
and
addition to the
Toxic
fact that you get
Claws.
a bunch of skill ranks to Shred and Toxic Claws, which is a bunch more multiplicative damage.
That's
so power
crazy.
level is going up significantly. is Blood Howl grants stealth for a few seconds. So what's really cool about this is, we basically added a new mechanic via a simple item stat in this unique, and it combines with the unique effect, right? So before on live, you kill enemies with Shred, you go into stealth, and then you come out and you guarantee crit. So as you're killing enemies over and over, you're just critting constantly as you go in and out of stealth. But you couldn't really do that against bosses. You had no other ways to get into stealth. But now we've created an alternative way where if you cast Blood Howl or get the Blood Howl effect in other ways, you'll go into stealth and get this proc, and now you can get this, against single bosses or in situations you couldn't before.
Crit
so we've given you a
damage.
potential way to create your own engine, which is pretty neat to get those infinite crits. Next, Great Staff of the Crone. I believe we showed this one earlier to people, but just wanted to point out.
This item was pretty good in earlier seasons. Look at that damage to close enemies. Storm Strike chains to 2 targets, +2 to basic skills. Man.
What was special about this? Storm Strike chaining to additional targets.
That's
things
crazy.
Like this. Again, it's a single stat that does something that kind of really changes how the unique works, right? You're gonna get all the different procs and different effects by
almost
chaining to more enemies more
400%
often.
to close enemies.
You can also see here that the upper end of that damage that you could get is going up from 150% to 200, so it's just better. And last but not least, we got Storm's Companion. This one I again wanted to highlight another new thing that we're doing, and I want to call it here is the lucky hit chance for the Pack Leader Spirit Boon. So normally we never really manipulate class mechanics. But here, this Pack Leader, this isn't like a passive or a thing in the skill tree. This is in the Spirit Boon, your class mechanic.
A damage reduction from close enemies is nice.
To get a reset on the cooldowns of all your companion skills.
72.5% lucky hit chance for the Pack Leader Spirit Boon. Now, I'm not familiar with that particular boon, but that's crazy, that lucky hit chance. +5 to Wolves hadn't changed. Okay.
So again, this is something that normally we
Wolf
don't get to
attack
manipulate,
speed.
and now you'll be able to do, and I think it'll be pretty cool.
We have also decided that Pack Leader is 2 words instead of 1.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Everything's
changing.
All right, moving on to the Rogue Eagle Horn. Let me see. What did I want to? I think just pointing out here, this was about moving the tempered recipe, the penetrating shot.
43% chance for penetrating shot.
Example of
yeah,
that.
twice.
We're also giving you a bunch of skill ranks to penetrating shot. Again, this is a way that we're adding just like raw.
I noticed they changed the spelling. Lucky hit, critical strikes have a 25% chance to reset the cooldown. Critical strikes have a 43% chance to reset the cooldown. That's significant. See, if you do stuff like that, lucky hit chance is nice,
Penetrating shot. Again, this is a way that we're adding just like raw power and damage in ways that aren't in the unique effect. So these stats on these things can be very strong out the gate, and then again, tempering and masterworking just makes these go really, really high. Next, Word of a Con. This one was a really silly, fun one that we liked. You see there, the one I want to point out. Well, one is the ultimate damage. Actually, ultimate skill damage for the Rogue is kind of a premium because they have that Paragon node that makes it turn into multiplicative damage for all your skills. So that's actually pretty meaty. It's also way higher value than normal. Also, the chance for Rain of Arrows waves to cast twice. So normally we don't do, chance to double cast on ultimates, but again, uniques get to break the rules. So now you've got
+3 to
juiced up
imbuement
Rain of Arrows cooldown reduction. They can cast twice, and they hit way harder on the Rain of Arrows themed unique. So again,
that's
really
crazy.
trying to bring out the theme and the
Rain of Arrows are going to be going crazy.
The effects to really create something special.
Guys, there are going to be so many really good builds this season. And keep in mind, most of these items are not mythic uniques, okay? Or like what they used to call Uber uniques. These are just regular uniques that you can get fairly easily. Now, the Grandfather, that's an Uber unique, so that's okay. But the rest of these are just regular uniques, man. These are build-defining items.
And next, Saboteur Signet. I was running this in Season 4. I'm a little sad that I'm going to be doing something else in Season 5, but I loved my stun grenade build. But here you can see a bunch of grenade damage, obvious theme for the grenade build. We're also giving you a lot of your stun grenade
cooldown reduction's kind of nice.
And then again, a new affix that kind of creates your own engine. You're getting +1 energy when a stun grenade explodes. And this is each individual grenade, right?
Yeah.
So you usually release a cluster of these things. So now, again, I spent a lot of my time in Season 4 trying to solve resource and get ways to cast this a lot to throw out those stun grenades, and now this kind of helps its own engine. Also, one thing to point out here is that it's no longer just a flurry unique. It's casting a core skill throws stun grenades, so it's a lot more generically applicable. You can use this with all the different core skills, not just flurry. Next, Necromancer. The big one I want.
Here we go, Necro enjoyers. You ready?
I wanted to point out here, we're going to be showing both of the Blood Surge uniques and how they've been updated and they combo with each other. We have a stat here that Blood Surge drains more times from elites. So to be clear, this is the drain, not the explosion. But the drain does feed into the explosion damage, and there's a lot of synergy and things based on draining enemies. So now, one of the problems that Blood Surge has always had is when you're fighting a single target or a boss, you only drain one enemy and then you're not getting your explosion damage up. But now you're going to be draining multiple times from those elites, so you're going to be getting more life back and other procs when you drain, but also your explosion will be more significant now against them. Next, Death Speaker's Pendant. This is the other Blood Surge unique.
+5 to Blood Surge.
We also added another thing that combines with the other unique where you're getting essence per enemy drained, right? And so now, as you drain enemies for the explosion, you're going to be getting more essence back to cast the skill and spam it more. We're also giving you a bunch of ranks to Blood Surge, which, just makes sense. So, 50%, before masterworking and tempering multiplicative damage is already a...
Look at this. What in the world? That is silly. Look at the increase of that. Going from doing 13 max to doing over 2,000? I don't play Necros, but that seems really crazy. Wow. Huh.
Giant buff to this. But then also you can see that, the numbers also went up on this as well. So it's just going to be pretty significant.
Can't wait.
And last but not least, Greaves of the Empty Tomb. This is your Sever unique. Lots of stuff to point out here. One is you have multiple inherents. So, normally you can only get 3 max evade charges. You get more here. We also had a fun little thing where your evade now leaves behind Desecrated Ground because this is the Desecrated Ground unique. We also have chance for Sever projectiles to cast twice. We have Sever Size here. We also give you ranks to Reaper's Pursuit. So this is really about just moving and grooving, going around. One thing I want to point out here as well is this new aspect of Creeping Mist that came in, and you can combine this with the Greaves of the Empty Tomb. So this new aspect, we heard that Necro players want mobility, and boy did we give you mobility. So what this does is when you evade first of all, you get evade cooldown reduction, so you evade more. But when you evade during Blood Mist, you travel twice as far, and both when you enter and exit Blood Mist, it resets your evade cooldown. And one of the things that makes this crazy, where we might actually be crazy, and I hope we don't have to revisit this, but we're going to see, is that reset of your evade cooldown counts for all of your charges of evade. So what this means is, and we have a video, is that you can evade 5 times, then evade in Blood Mist, and then evade 5 more times. So see here, then you're evading in Blood Mist, and you're leaving behind that Desecrated Ground everywhere, and just
skating around,
Yep.
It's like an ice skating rink.
So every time you cast Blood Mist, you're going to be getting 10 evades.
It's
funny. Silly and hilarious. But we're putting it in the game, and I hope we don't regret it.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, they're going to be zooming with this. So yeah, so that's kind of our preview of our uniques and kind of what's coming into the game. Again, we're pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
You got to hand it to them. They're trying, right? Those uniques, they heard us. We told them that uniques were lackluster when they implemented the enhanced crafting system with the tempers and the masterworking. Specifically the tempers, you could masterwork it. But yeah, these uniques are night and day when you look at them side by side before and after. It's ridiculous. There's going to be some broken stuff, guys. Just be prepared. There's going to be some broken. I don't mean like bug broken, although we'll probably have some of that. I mean broken as in like super stupid powerful. That's coming. There's going to be some builds that are ridiculous. That Rain of Arrows build looks good. Also, the Fireball build for Sorks looks really good.
Yeah. Professor Adam Jackson, take a bow. That is that is incredible.
And again, that's not even everything. There's a lot of stuff that leads to other uniques that are at that level.
Patch notes after the stream, we will be showing a comparison of every single unique and their changes from Season 4 to Season 5. So you can go in there and check out all those changes. But that was a great overview of all those changes. That is really, really exciting. This brings us to our Q&A portion of the show. Let's all shift our legs at the same time. So we've been following along in Twitch chat, and we've picked out a bunch of questions, and we're going to kick it off, tossing it over to Mr. Dan Tangway. How do reward choices work in multiplayer parties for Infernal Hordes? Does the leader choose the reward for everyone, or can each player choose?
All right, so let's...
Okay, before I hear him answer this, problem with the blood build was that it relied on overpower, which is heavily capped damage. We'll see. Yeah, overpower was significantly nerfed in recent seasons, so I can see that where that could be an issue.
Let's talk about this. In the Infernal Hordes, when you're collecting Burning Ether, each individual collects their own Burning Ether. And we did this for the very reason that you're asking questions about. We wanted players to be able to go in and choose the rewards that they want to choose, not necessarily what somebody else gets to first or what the party leader wants. So every individual party member will have their own choice of rewards.
Awesome. Thanks for letting us know.
Marcus, you got to read the names.
Oh my goodness! Did I not say Eldrick?
Eldrick. There you go.
Eldrick. Thank you for that question.
I gotta say, I do like Dan's shirt. Dan's shirt is awesome. That is. I don't know what. Did he say what that was from, guys? Is that just like a generic random shirt, or is that like a character from like a TV show or a video game? It almost looks like it should be, right? But I don't know. It looks cool though.
Of
course, you're going to be a stickler for that.
It's a great great thing to call out because
our ladder behind you.
I guess it does, doesn't it? It almost looks like it could be a Diablo emoji. Maybe it is.
We have a question
that might be what it is.
The lower third, which is this one.
Here we go.
We've gotten a lot of these questions.
Vessel
so I
of
do want to
Hatred.
actually address this one. This is when we're going to hear more about Vessel of Hatred because we just had the Spiritborn reveal. We showed off the Spiritborn.
Oh, cool.
Note that
makes sense then. Okay.
Also, going to be at Gamescom. But there's actually some Gamescom news that came out this morning. The Spiritborn will be playable at Gamescom. So if you go to the Xbox booth, you'll be able to play it there. So if you're attending that show, it'll be really awesome. There's actually going to be more news coming out at that time. So of course, tune in. And I will say, like, you guys have only heard a very small.
No, there's a lot.
We haven't heard hardly anything about the new expansion
of Vessel of Hatred. So we're really excited for Gamescom. So you guys will hear more then. So stay tuned.
Yeah,
nice.
Grab your tickets to come to Gamescom because we'll be there. It'll be super.
Yes, exactly. Go to Germany.
Come to Cologne. Come to Cologne. There was some people confused in chat. This is a question from Dartless, who was saying, "We can temper uniques now." Did I mishear that? Maybe that was a mistake being said. So Adam, if you want to speak
100% clear.
that.
Cannot temper uniques.
We
want
can't.
them to be different in that they do not engage with that system, at least for now. But
I misunderstood that too. I thought they had said that you can temper uniques now, but I guess I misunderstood that. So I'm glad they clarified that. To be clear though, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Now we'll see, but it seems like with these changes to these uniques, it seems like it's going to be just fine. I could be wrong about that, but it seems like it's going to be fine.
No, you're going to be what I wanted to say or be clarify on is that you can get tempering affixes on uniques. Like they'll just drop with those affixes or whatever.
Okay.
But you can't go to the
so they can drop with them.
Manipulate them in that way. You can't temper them. No.
That makes it interesting. You can get them on there to drop.
Gotcha. Cool. Thanks for clarifying that.
Truly
Adam. It's Doffy has a question for Dan Tangway. Are there any plans to continue iterating on the Infernal Hordes in the future since it's a permanent addition? Are there going to be more boons and banes coming?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, just to reiterate what you had pointed out there, this is an Eternal Realm feature that's going to appear in the game forevermore. And so this is just the first version of it. I mean, you think back to what Helltide was in the base game and how we've iterated on that over time to get it to where it is. We're going to continue investing similar levels of effort into the Infernal Hordes too. And so Boons and Banes is something we heard a lot about feedback during the PTR. And so we absolutely want to make more improvements to the Boons and Banes. And so stay tuned. That's not going to hit in season 5, but we'll figure out where we can get it in future seasons.
Awesome. Great to hear that we're going to continue tinkering on that feature in the seasons to come. I've got a really interesting question from Mano_imp with regards to those Mano Imp.
We know Mano Imp.
With regards to the damage increase per class resource.
Sure.
They're asking, is the Spiritborn getting 1% damage at 7 points if it's their main stat, just because they have a lower amount of weapons?
Yeah, TBD.
TBD.
I don't want to go into math.
Yeah, it's hard to really talk about
Spirit
Spiritborns just yet.
They'll be getting similar treatment to all the other stuff. All of this is kind of evergreen, so.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Luke Wee. When will we see the overhaul of the Paragon system? Would you consider removing the Paragon limit?
There are going to be changes to Paragon, but we aren't talking about those changes yet.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Fair enough.
TBD.
Stay tuned. Love this name. Chicken Wing 929. Can the reputation rewards for season of the Infernal Hordes be earned on only one character or all your seasonal characters?
I'm assuming.
I believe it's all characters, similar to like what we have for season 4.
Season 4, that was one of the things you could really. I don't think we're getting the level 60 squish until the expansion, though, right? So that may be why they're not really talking about that. They haven't even confirmed that. We think we're getting a level 60 squish, and we've been able to glean that from people picking up clues. But I do think that's going to be a thing. They just, obviously they're hush-hush about it. In Season 4, the Iron Wolves reputation, you could get that on every character. So I don't see why you wouldn't be able to do that here too.
So you can actually go back in and just play go through the reputation board and then get another Resplendent Spark.
Yeah, that's really the question. Let's be honest.
Really, that's truly the question. Yes, you can get.
Pretty sure it's character specific, so you can.
Yeah.
Nice. Systematic 5K, Adam Jackson. Will our existing uniques be updated with these new unique changes?
Yeah, we get this every round that we update them. It's the same rules as always, which is the unique power. When we update that, is your existing uniques will get that, right? So when we increase your damage range or whatever, that's going to get. But the stats, those are going to be legacy on any items that exist. So you're going to have to refarm your unique to get the new stats that are on them. Awesome. And that's kind of the way that they're going to work going forward, unless we say otherwise.
Yeah, it's just how things work under the hood from when we do changes on them. So.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think so too.
Pudge_BP. Are there any plans for clan rework / improvements?
I didn't know Pudge Rodriguez played Diablo 4.
I know there are some changes coming for some social features. We're just not ready to talk about them now. But you guys will hear about them soon.
Awesome. This one's kind of a design philosophy question for Adam Jackson.
Sure.
Evans423 wants to know, how future-proof is this system of static uniques when adding new / better tempering effects and new content?
How future-proof are static uniques when adding new tempers? Let me think. Semi, right? Because I think it is something where if we add new tempers or new affixes or whatever, we will probably need to go back and update uniques that we wanted to apply to and make it work again. Our hope is that these uniques are going to be pretty future-proof in that they're going to be very meaty in the amount of power that they give you. They're also extremely thematic, but I think we do reserve the right, if we find a new idea for existing passive or existing tempering that is introduced to the game and we want to put it on, we can do that. I will say also one thing that we want to do more is just come up with really crazy new ones that aren't even really tempering recipes, but just crazy effects, right? Like Blood Howl grants stealth, or you drain more with your blood surge, stuff like that. So I would expect we'll probably be updating them as we go forward. Not probably as dramatically as this all at once, but I foresee that's probably likely, yeah.
Nice, yeah. Always tinkering, always updating.
Yeah. Speaking of which, about tempering, one thing that we forgot to mention, and I know we mentioned it at the PTR stream last time. I'm sorry, my earpiece just keeps falling off. So it looks like I'm like scratching my ear, but I'm not. The greater I know there was a lot of like feedback after season 4 regarding tempering and potentially bricking items. And one update that we talked about during the PTR stream, and I want to mention, it wasn't in PTR, but is in season 5 specifically, is greater affixes will actually get additional temper rerolls on them based on the greater affix,
how about that?
What they are. So for
that's right.
like,
I did hear that before.
Affix,
actually,
1-star ones, you'll end up getting one additional.
reroll.
And then it grows by how many stars that there are.
I do remember hearing
that. That is going in season 5. So
you'll get more temporary rolls, so you don't brick your item as easily.
Sweet.
Greater affixes.
Great to mention that, Adam. That's awesome. We've got a easy one here from Z Weapons. What is a mythic unique? There was a purple item during the stream?
Yeah, you can tune into our last stream for it. But yeah, basically what was Uber uniques is what people call them. It's basically like, the really best items in the game that have like perfect stats and everything. We rebranded them to mythic uniques. They now have their own special color, special beam when they drop. They just got a whole treatment to really make them feel like the penultimate items that they
super
are in the
juicy.
game.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sophie0257, are they going to make it so that we can pre-download?
By the way, not that it's a big deal, but he used penultimate wrong there. And I get it, right? You guys, they're in this, and their minds are reeling and thinking about their job and what they're doing and everything. They're not English grammatic majors. Just so you know, penultimate means second to last. So like, if I'm reading I'll take the Wheel of Time series. There's 14 books in the series, right? Book 13 is the penultimate book in the epic series of the Wheel of Time. To give you an idea in context. Maybe Electric Atoms, maybe it's the white flag before. There you go, Voltan, yes.
Will the update, or will it be available only on the 6th? That's a great question.
That's a good question.
Based off feedback from Season 4's launch, the patch will be available to download roughly an hour before Season of the Infernal Hordes launches. So that season goes live at 10 a.m. and roughly an hour before you'll be able to pre-download the patch to get into the game and get ready for the season.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are probably going like, why not multiple days and things like that. We're getting there. We're trying. But no, we got a lot of feedback about how things started immediately on the you could download and actually start the season.
Primal mythic
of course,
uniques,
we want to
right?
make sure that people can be as prepared as possible. So 1 hour before the actual season starts, like you should be able to actually download and get that all prepared. So like as soon as the season, the time for the season begin, which is roughly like 10 a.m. Pacific on the day of, you can just jump in without needing to download. So
Skull MTV, hey, great job, thanks. Any plans to rework masterworking in brackets, higher cost, but you can choose upgrades and tempering to make these systems have less RNG?
Nothing to announce at this time. We definitely have heard the feedback. We are starting with the first step of like, one of the things that we know feels really bad for players. Like I got how do I say? The more greater affixes you have on an item, the higher stress and investment you have to like make it work the way that you want. So we are relaxing that, make it a little bit easier. Another thing that we're thinking about that's a little lighter is like the tempering recipes, making them have like 3 on average instead of 4 or more. Something that we're talking about moving towards, but nothing like of overhauling the system and doing a major change at this time that we have to announce.
Cool. Thanks, Adam. Dan Tangway from Holy Smokes.
Right. That feels bad when that happens.
I thought it was Dan Tangway asking a question, and I was like, wait, what?
No. Their name is Frodo Bolson, but all the O's are zeros. All right. How does the Infernal Hordes work in groups? Do you need only one compass per group?
So the Infernal Hordes, you only need 1 compass per group in order to be able to get in. Yeah.
There you go.
Sweet. Just like Nightmare Dungeon sigils. Awesome. Yep. All right, Ravask. Any news on reworked Nightmare Dungeons?
Nothing
for
announce.
today.
Yeah.
Nothing to announce today.
Yeah, nothing to announce today.
Oh, they're working on something.
Green's on.
Did you see that look that Adam gave Adam? They're working on something with Nightmare Dungeons. Good.
Studios. Can we expect cool new transmogs in Season 5 from salvaging items?
I am not sure. I know, like, the Season 5 has a lot of new legendary aspects and uniques. Like, there's like 50 new legendary aspects and uniques being added into Season 5. So there's a lot of like more the back end type of stuff that affects a lot more so on the gameplay. But I'm not exactly sure if there's a ton coming in.
Yeah. So we can actually. There are a couple of new uniques in Hell that you can earn that will have all new looks to them that you can salvage
there you
and
go.
use as a cosmetic. Yep.
Bam. There you go.
Dan, the savior from Albany.
There you go. Frodo Bolson.
Frodo Bolson.
Hot
How about
pancakes.
that, Frodo?
Are there still plans for rare and magic items? I guess in terms of like a rework or changing their functionality in any way?
Yeah, I'd say nothing to announce today for that, yeah.
But they're working on something, it sounds like. Okay.
All right. Checking through Mac and D's. Can we expect skill trees or support gems to change the way skills work?
Can we expect skill trees or support gems to change the way the skill works? I mean, we're not doing any skill tree overhaul right now in Season 5. I do think we have talked a bit on the team about having a desire of the upgrades for skills being like more impactful and really impactful. Nothing to announce today, but it is something that is on our radar and I think is cool. I think one example that we talk about a lot on the team is like the kick upgrade for the Barbarian, where normally, you know, when we were originally designing kick, it was this idea that you have this like skill where you hit an enemy and you care about the geometry of the place around you and you want to hit them into the wall and then they get knocked down, take a bunch of damage and all this stuff. That part hasn't really played out, I think, as well because the pace of our game is so fast. But one of the upgrades for kick, especially I remember in the early beta, like way before, maybe it was alpha even, kick, you know, it converts kick from this cooldown-based geometry skill into just a powerhouse where it just spends all your resources and does a buttload of damage to an enemy. And it was like one-shotting world bosses and stuff back then.
Oh my gosh.
It was hilarious.
I think I remember that.
But the skill still has that upgrade, but I reference that upgrade a lot because I think it's really cool when you can convert a skill to like, used to be cooldown and now isn't, or used to be about this utility and now it's just damage or vice versa, where it like really changes what a skill does. We think it's really cool.
I'll be honest. I think it's more likely that they've heard the torrent of complaints from the mass community of Diablo 4 players. I think that's more likely than them seeing Frosty LaRue's videos and thinking, you know what, we should change some things. I think it's more likely that they have heard the overwhelming voice of the player base.
Well, it definitely would be a lot of work to like do that to every skill, but I think it's something that's worth talking about and pursuing. So it is on our radar of something to do, but nothing to announce today for it.
Awesome. Yeah. That's really cool. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of our Q&A. So I want to give a huge thank you to Adam. And
what else they got? Anything? Closing thoughts? No. Okay. All right. So interesting stuff for sure. What I would like to do now, I want to hear Rax's take on this. So my thoughts. Overall, I like what I'm hearing. I think the season is really going to hinge around how good does it feel to play the characters? How do the new uniques and the new legendary aspects feel? What's the balance like of the classes? What does the new how does the pit stuff change? That's going to be as far as the bosses, but also the Infernal Realm. That's going to be important to be good. So I think those are some of the biggest things. It's got potential. A lot of the stuff that we saw, we're not going to really get a good feel for until we get our hands on it and start playing. I love some of the changes. Some of the quality of life changes are good. We'll see, you know. But I want to see what Rax and Riker have to say.
Let's go over this, then we're going to look at the patch notes, all right? So, in general, this campfire was way better than I thought it was going to be. I thought there was going to be way less content, and I thought the content was going to be worse. And that's
I will say, already starting, I want to hear you react to Rax's, react to DM's, react to Riker's. I know, right? Right? Yeah, exactly. I normally don't do this kind of content, but I'm really curious because and most of you guys know Raxander X and Riker, but oh no, I know you are. I will say this. Rax is a more grounded Diablo content creator because he's going to tell it like it is, and he's not all he's a diehard Diablo 4 fan, but he doesn't wear Diablo colored glasses, right? If he sees something he doesn't like, he's going to tell you. I will say, I know he was skeptical going in. I wasn't. I felt like, just from the bits and pieces that we saw going in, I felt like we were going to get some good information. Now, maybe that's just part of my personality, being a positive person. I get it. But I really felt like the context clues gave us a reason to be hopeful, and that played out. Now, again, we got to see how that plays out in actual gameplay. But anyway, yeah.
It's supposed to be a compliment. It's not supposed to be me insulting Blizzard, but I'm more excited for Diablo's future now because I don't know whether it was last Epoch's big changes or Path of Exile's Giga Chad League that they just had, but
I think the future's
Diablo
in good
4
hands.
Seems to be
no, he doesn't.
Trying now. Not to say they weren't trying before, but anyway, okay, whatever. What happened? So they said future PTR is going to be better for testing.
Yep.
Nice. We
good.
spent all of our time looking for the gear. We couldn't even test anything. Improved access to the infernal hordes. You can get them from Helltides and Nightmare Dungeons. The compasses drop naturally. You can craft them at the Occultist. We already knew this. The waves are going to be way better. The bosses were way too tanky. They got nerfed. The difficulty goes up properly. More mini events,
change.
More spawn rates. They reduced the timer to 60 seconds, and your pets are going to pick up the material.
That's something we didn't talk about earlier much, but I think without having played a lot of the Infernal Hordes, that was one thing that I realized was an issue, was having to wait 90 seconds between waves was ridiculous. It's going to be, I think that's going to be, we'll see. I almost feel like now maybe even go down to 45 or 50 seconds, but we'll see. This might be good.
Should be way more chaotic and honestly way more fun. You're going to get more, I guess it's pronounced ether, but there's an A. It's weird. I guess it's ether. The bosses now drop a reward. They used to drop nothing. That felt terrible. The chests are cheaper. They give you more rewards, and they scale better. So they pulled literally every lever. They're giving you more of the material. It costs less to open the chest. The chests have more rewards, and they scale. So we're going to get some like mega loot explosions maybe in like the highest tiers. They're bringing back the reputation system from season 4.
All right, Voltan, see you later, buddy.
Helltide.
Have a good night.
One of the questions that they asked in the Q&A was, can you do it with multiple characters? And the answer is yes, which means you can get multiple resplendent sparks for playing your alts, which guarantees you eventually an Uber unit.
Who wants to live forever?
Who wants to live forever? There you go. There you go, Voltan. I love that you can get... I'm going to do that probably. That's how I'm going to probably get my first grandfather weapon ever. Because we can farm them, and I'm probably going to get the 4 or 5 resplendent sparks you need and get it.
You can get the reputation much easier rather than just Helltide. The XP, this is the most interesting thing that they said, but they didn't explain this at all. The XP that you gain in the season goes up as you raise your reputation. I'm very interested to understand how this works. What is the increase? Is it a separate multiplier? Because I really care about leveling and leveling fast. So this is, I want to know what this is. We'll figure it out eventually. And then in the rewards, you're going to get uniques, a ton of crafting mats, and at the end, you'll get that resplendent spark to craft your uber uniques. They extended the seasonal quest line from all the way to the beginning. Some people will care about that, the people that like lore and quests, so there you go. They have new leveling dungeons. So we used to level up, the fastest way was in the dopamine tunnels. It was by far the best way.
I love they added these new leveling dungeons. I forget what they called them, and the fact that you can get to the end and before you get to the boss, you can pick an affix and kind of ramp up the difficulty a little bit, maybe give you a little bit better loot, and it'll be kind of like a randomized variety to it each time you do it. I like that.
To level, but a lot of people didn't like it because all you were doing was half of a dungeon, and that's it. So a lot of people find that boring, understandably. But this might be the new XP meta, and they emphasize that there's very good loot in these new leveling dungeons. So, and the new leveling dungeons are kind of like mini versions of the Infernal Hordes. So how good this is, we're going to have to see, but maybe this is going to be better than Helltide. But then at the same time, then they buffed Helltide. The chests are cheaper in World Tier 1 and 2, and you can get all of your whispers in a single zone.
So okay, this is something I wanted to touch on earlier, and I forgot to bring it together. One of the things that, if you spent a lot of time playing Diablo in previous seasons, you knew how important it was to do Tree of Whispers quests. Not only for the gold, it was the best way to get gold in the game, but also for the body parts to summon Varshan. Okay? Here's the thing. With the efficiency of doing Tree of Whispers quests in one subzone in Helltides now, you're going to be able to farm and turn around those Tree of Whisper turn-ins much quicker. Ultimately, getting more body parts, which this season we now know is only going to be Malignant Hearts. So, is it going to be one of those things? The real question comes down to this. As far as the Malignant Hearts, are they going to have the same drop rate, and then sometimes you just don't get anything when you open up a Tree of Whispers cache? Or are you guaranteed to get a Malignant Heart every time? Because every time you opened a Tree of Whispers quest before, you would get some body part. Sometimes you'd get multiples. Every time. I don't remember ever. Maybe there was a slight chance you didn't get anything, you know? But now is it going to be, there are sometimes you open a cache and you don't get anything? Or are you going to get a Malignant Heart every time? Because if you get a Malignant Heart every time, you are going to drastically increase your rate of turning around Varshan farms. Something to consider. We'll have to see when we get our hands on it.
So Helltide is the best, and they buffed it, but now they have these new leveling dungeons, which are supposed to compete with it. I've never seen them, so there's no way I will know which one is better. Profane Mind Cages are back. These raise the monster levels by 10, and it stacks up to 3. So now you can fight monsters 30 levels higher than you. This is one of the only changes that they're making in the game that adds difficulty. Almost everywhere else, they're making the game easier, which we'll talk about later. The legendary drop rates are now buffed at 100. It's going to be way easier to hit level 100, so when you reach level 100, you're going to get better loot. So that's a nice incentive for hitting max level. Enchanting no longer costs Angel's Breath. This is a surprising change to me. I thought they would just lower the cost rather than removing it, but that's the way that they decided to go with it. They lowered the crowd control, and you can now potion while crowd controlled. This actually killed me last time. World bosses have resilience, thank God, because they weren't even a fight before.
Yeah.
The pit bosses, let's start with this one last. 3 stacks now apply for the shadow dudes, and when you get hit 3 times, it's now the previous level of damage. This seems like a good change. It rewards you for playing well,
So, did you catch that, guys? Basically, when you're fighting a pit boss, and we didn't really talk about this when we were watching the video, the stream, but the idea is when the pit bosses do their big, massive attack, if you avoid it, then you're going to be able to tank them much easier, right? It's going to be a lot easier to fight them than was previously, and potentially getting 1 or 2 shot. Now, though, if you get hit with 3 of their big attacks, after the 3rd big attack, they're going to be doing the same amount of damage that they were doing before the patch, meaning they'll probably one-shot you. I think that's a fair change because that's going to kind of ramp it up slowly. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's a good change.
playing skillfully. I like this. They removed a lot of the mechanics that just instantly one-shot you. I've got no problem with that. This seems like a colossal nerf. 66% reduced damage. I mean, that's so significant. So now, before where this was like the main challenge, it's hard to imagine where the challenge is going to come from at all, especially with...
Well, and I wonder though, the 66% reduced damage, is that damage reduction going to be eliminated if you get those stacks from the boss? Because it could be, as long as you avoid their big attacks, they're way easier to tank overall. But maybe if you get the 3 stacks, this is no longer in play. I don't know. I'm just wondering. It's asking the question. I don't know. Because that could be... Even so, it's still going to be easier, for sure. Way easier. But that could be a challenge if you start getting hit by those big attacks.
All the other buffs before. So I think like this patch is a significant improvement to Diablo 4 as a whole. But the thing that they need to start focusing on now that they're improving the base
in-game challenge
is you have to add some stuff in the end game that is truly challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to find a single moment anywhere in the game that is going to be challenging with what we know so far. Group play now gets 100% of the rewards in the pit. That's fine. We just need an SSF mode. I'm sad we don't have it already. Endgame bosses can be resummoned. Beast in the Ice is easier to summon and walk to. Varshan only requires 1 material. So this is interesting. The endgame bosses were dropping tons of yellows. So one of the first pieces of feedback that I gave Blizzard was, stop giving us yellows and just give us gold. They said, we don't want to do that because we have plans for the yellows and we're going to keep the yellows in the game for our future plans. Now they removed the yellows and replaced it with gold. And so this specific question was asked in the Q&A, what's the plan for yellows? And they said, nothing to announce at this time. So now I'm wondering if blues and yellows are ever going to have a place in the game other than when you're like level 10.
Well, I don't see this as big of a red flag as he does necessarily, because loot tables are easily modifiable by the developers. So what I mean by that is, if there's no point in having blues and yellows at certain difficulty, once you get to a certain point, now they can easily turn those loot drops off by adjusting the loot filters internally. That doesn't mean that they have to delete that stuff out of the database. It can still be there, just not active. And then when the time comes, they get to a point where, okay, we have something we want to do crafting-wise with yellows. they can turn that on, retweak how the drops work, whatever. I don't think that's necessarily that big of a deal. Well, we'll see.
So I don't know. The tormented bosses have buffed loot. The XP from monsters is now capped at 30, which this is a buff to you leveling up. It used to be capped lower.
Yeah, that's true,
now
Penguin.
It's capped at 30,
yeah.
and you apply the multiplier to it, and you're getting a new multiplier, I guess, from the new progression system. So this just means you're going to level up much faster if you can farm harder content. They made some bug fixes. They buffed Necro Shielding Storm, which was already great. They buffed Barb, Dust Devil, and Earthquake. It was already great. They're addressing Barbs being too strong. They're changing how much damage your core stats get. Barb is the same. Rogue got a little bit better. Sorcerer, Druid, and Necro are getting significantly better. This is a big buff. The key passes for the Barb have been lowered to bring them more in line with the other classes. And they're going to buff the other class mechanics coming up. For Barbs, Hoda is getting stronger, and Upheaval's going to get way better because they updated some of the uniques. Sorcerers are getting colossal buffs. Their uniques are way better. They're getting just 20% more damage just for nothing. Their defensive buffs are going way up, and the Paragon is getting increased, or getting buffed from increasing the caps. Druid is getting a lot of quality of life and damage. Cataclysm's now going to consistently hit the enemies. People hated that. Perfect Storm, Seismic Shift is buffed. Paragon buffs and uniques are being shifted around so you can wear more of them to make more builds. Rogues didn't get that many changes. Flurry is buffed and some other things are buffed. Not too many. They're buffing Blood Necro and Lucky Hit across the board. Uniques. So this was probably the most exciting part of the entire stream. They're finally...
Bow, 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 bow.
Mart's PGH cheered.
X100.
X100. The only red flag I see is the loot tables aren't adding imitation crab.
I mean, right?
It's red and white and we internally need combine them with the food and retweak it and good to go.
I agree. Thank you for the bits. We definitely need to have more imitation crab meat on our loot tables. There's no doubt.
Doing what I've been crying about since the alpha. We keep having uniques that say, Fireball throws another fireball, or 10% attack speed, or 20% damage, or all the memes for the damage on Tuesdays. Now they're making dramatic changes to all of the uniques in the game, and they're breaking a ton of the rules that they previously had to make them quite crazy. So we'll have to go through the patch notes and look at all of them. But for example, Fists of Fate gives you 50% lucky hit chance. Grandfather now just gives
ridiculous.
you 300% increased damage. They're changing the way that like passives interact and the class mechanics interact. It's actually truly exciting for once. Like from a theory crafting perspective and a building perspective.
I really believe this is going to be the season where we see a lot of builds be in the A or S tier. It's just going to be, it's going to be the season with a lot more parity than we've seen thus far in Diablo 4. And I think that's good. Because when the expansion comes out, that's things. The paradigm is going to shift. The power and how things work is going to shift. So have a little fun with this season. I'm not saying it's going to be like PoE difficult, right? But things are going to be different next season 6.
This is an area historically where games like Last Epoch and PoE have killed Diablo 4. Now that they're opening up everything and being way more brave, it may actually be truly fun to make these crazy builds in Diablo 4, especially in the future if they can add more challenging content to test your builds.
That's going to be the key. You need something to test your build against.
Q&A section. They asked about Infernal Horde group play. Everyone's going to get their own rewards. The leader's not going to choose your rewards for you. There are going to be a lot of expansion updates. There's going to be some huge changes coming. I know some of them secretly that I cannot share. It's Blizzard's thing to announce. Some of them are quite significant. You're going to like them a lot. I'm almost certain about it.
I like that.
They're going to have new boons and banes for the mechanic, but not in Season 5. This is a little bit disappointing. I thought this was one of the biggest problems with the current system. At least they acknowledged it's a problem, and they are going to change it. I guess they just ran out of time. So it is what it is. They're going to change the Paragon system. They said stay tuned. The progression within the new reputation system is character specific, so you can get
that I kind of figured.
That's good news.
Yeah.
The new uniques, if you had old uniques, the powers are going to update at the bottom, but the stats won't. So that means you need to farm new uniques. I just ruined my document. Uniques will continue to be iterated on, and they talked about tempering with.
Yeah, somebody asked that question about uniques. Are these just going to be static and they're going to be the way they are as we get new tempers, new updates, things like that? You can't really do that, right? Because in a game like in ARPGs, it's going to be an ever-evolving process, especially with like uniques that are supposed to be the big attention-grabbing stars of the show, right? For most builds. I think as the game evolves, you need to evolve the uniques to make sure they stay ahead. That's just the way it is. So I don't think that's gonna. I don't think there's any chance that they stay the way they are, and that's it.
Uniques, are they thinking about that? They just said they'll look at it in the future. There will be a pre-download for the patch. That was a huge problem in Season 4.
Yeah,
so
that's good. That's a good call there.
Tempering, they're looking for improvements. Like, for example, they say some of the recipes have too many choices. They
Yeah,
wanna have
I
like
agree.
3 max.
Yeah.
But they're not planning a pure overhaul. It's only costs 1 compass per group. Rare and Magic Future, we already talked about this. They didn't say anything. And they kind of said that they might update the skill tree in the future, especially with the upgrades to the certain things. I got to be honest, I wish this was a much higher priority than what they made it seem like. I think this is one of the areas that Diablo is the weakest in, kind of like with the build creation. I think Last Epoch and PoE crushed Diablo 4. I understand why it's simple, because there's many different mechanics that they're trying to implement, and they want this to be simple to get people into the game, so the barrier of entry is very low. But I also think there is a situation where your skill tree is so basic that it actually hurts the design of the game, which is where I think the skill tree sits right now. So I hope in the future, again, I hope it doesn't take 1 to 2 years to update this. I think the skill tree should be a much higher priority than what I was hearing. I would like to see some significant improvements to this. I would like to see more choices, more impactful choices. So picking your skill tree is a lot more of a journey than it currently is. It's pretty much a formality right now. If you're going to play Shred Druid, have 10 random people make a tree for Shred Druid, and the differences between them will be almost 0. That's not the way it should be.
No, I agree.
But with that out of the way, this campfire had way more in it than I thought. I thought we were going to get some basic updates to the Infernal Hordes, and they were going to call it good. There were a lot of things in here that I just straight up didn't know, and the effort from the teams seems much higher than on the previous patches to me. And I think this is really good for the game. I genuinely wonder if Path of Exile and Last Epoch's efforts are making Blizzard step up. So I guess when competition is high, I guess the consumer...
Could be. I mean, and that's good, right? Competition breeds excellence, or at least in theory. It doesn't always for every situation, but it's very... Yeah. So that's good stuff, man. I agree with most of what he was saying. Another thing I want to mention, and I forget when they had talked about it, but when you get to level 100, the drop rate on uniques are going to increase. I don't know what to think about that. I already feel like I don't want it to get to a point where it was in Diablo 3, where you just get these loot pinatas just stuck everywhere. You know, I kind of want the loot to really mean something. It doesn't mean it needs to be very rare, but there needs to be kind of like a good point there where it's not just they're just throwing loot at you left and right. Not yet. Nice try, Martine. By the way, in fact, we're going to go ahead and do the drawing here. If you were just joining us or if you joined us late and you have not entered the giveaway, you can do so. We're giving away a $25 Steam gift card. If you're on Twitch, you could do ! Weirdos to see your weirdos like this. And then divide your weirdos by 100. And that will tell you how many tickets you can enter. Then you can do ! Enter, space, and the number of entries. Which for me, it would be 1, because I was messing around with stuff earlier. So yeah, there you go. If anybody else wants to put in, I'll give you guys a minute here or so to do that. And then we'll do the drawing. So, but overall, man, a really good update. I'm happy with what they gave us. Hey, yeah, 42 bazillion tickets, or just 42,000. Sure, why not? It'll be fine, right? Right, Martine? It'll be fine. So, but yeah, man, good stuff. Good stuff. I think I think Diablo's moving in the right direction. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a constant rise. There are going to be more speed bumps in the future. We know that. What I want to see is the developers continue to react to player feedback and make genuine efforts to improve the quality of life and gameplay. As long as I keep seeing that, if we see a swing and a miss every once in a while, so be it, right? We may see some in this season. This is a pretty dramatic change to itemization. Not as big as when they added like the tempering and stuff like that, but it's pretty close. So when you take this big of a swing, when you're swinging at that fastball chest high, man, there's a good possibility you're going to miss it. But if you get a hold of it, that sucker's going 450 feet, right? Maybe not that far, but it'll go far. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right, so the way this is going to work, I'm going to click giveaway winner, and one of you lucky weirdos will get a $25 Steam gift card. All right? So let's see what we got. Our first giveaway. And by the way, the new bot system we have now, knock on wood, after I modified it, it's doing much better now. So the winner is boop. Oh, OSU Cowboys, totally rigged. Totally rigged. I tell you what. My alt, woo. OSU, congratulations. You are the winner. Look at that. It wasn't even one of the top 3 weirdo getters. See? Congrats, OSU. Congrats, buddy. Make sure I think we already are, but make sure you're all right, Yarzori, have a good night. Yep, we'll see you later. Don't get my troll commands anymore. Yeah, you don't have them, huh? We'll have to work on that, Martine. I'm planning on working on we're going to be adding functionality to the bot as we go forward. So I'm planning on doing some fun things with the bot. I want to implement a new version of the quest game. It's going to be a little more challenging than it was before. Okay, great. I will be sending that gift card to you here shortly, man. Congratulations. OSU Cowboy, that's me. Oh my goodness. Yes, indeed, right? But yeah, it's good stuff, man. Good stuff. So, yep. The caps keep getting you. You must be playing some PoE right now. I know when I'm playing an ARPG, sometimes I can have big time issues with the caps because if I'm hitting tab nonstop to open a map or something, That's how I get that's exactly how it happens to me. Hitting tab to open the map, and sometimes I'll hit the caps button. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, guys, we're gonna end a little bit early tonight. Early start tomorrow. But we'll be back on Saturday. Reminder, Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Time, we'll start our Subathon, which, as you see, will be here for almost 11 hours.
Wile E. Coyote.
Yes.
Super genius. I like the way that rolls out.
I love it. When I play Torchlight, I'm always screaming at folks in Discord. Nice. But yeah, good stuff, man. Congratulations again to OSU. And as you guys have been seeing the new command, the new commands that the weirdo winners from last month, they'll get to use those all the month of August. Come Saturday, fresh new economy start. You'll get the spin game will be back. The raids will be back. I'm going to hopefully try to work on getting a quest game going. It may not be done for Saturday, but we're working on that. We'll be working on some other fun things for you guys and gals to do. Lots of stuff coming. So, yep. Have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. As always, if you can be anything, be kind. We'll see you Saturday.